automobile makers breathing a sigh of relief today. What are your thoughts, though?
Yeah, so it's really interesting that the first deal that they announced is with Great Britain, and there was a theory that they were going to announce one of the really big, difficult trade deals, like with India or Japan or South Korea. But what they're doing is they're making this first deal or announcing this first deal with one of our closest trading partners, and they're going to be using this as a model that they'll be using with other countries and saying this is what we want a trade deal to look like.
I found it very interesting as we were listening to British Prime Minister Keir Starmer speaking to President Trump. I mean, there was a lot of flattery and shoulder patting going on, and I feel like as we were listening to this, it was a little bit of a sigh of relief, but also some PR going on here, trying to be first in line. Hey, we got things done, and hey, the reason we got things done with you is because you're so willing to work with us right now. Can you speak to just maybe the urgency that this puts on other countries as we see this first domino fall?
Yeah, and it's really interesting there, with Great Britain specifically. If you remember, just a few years back, they did something different with the Brexit. So they had a kind of a break with the rest of the European Union on issues like trade and immigration, and now we see President Trump reaching out to them for the first deal to kind of align with that general idea of we need to be watching out more for ourselves. If you remember a few years back, there was a lot of people saying that Brexit wouldn't work, that it would disconnect England from the rest of Europe, and they were okay with that. And they're saying we're going to be a little more independent from the rest of the European Union. And so I think there is that kind of close alignment between the Trump administration and the administration in Great Britain over this reset of overall trade deals. And they talked about that President Trump said, we need to have a reset. We need to have a new way of considering our international trade deals.
Robert, I feel like we have to get to the bottom line of what this means for Utahns and our budgets. A lot of people holding their collective breath on what this could potentially mean if tariffs stayed in place to the price of many, many, many things that we buy every single day. So give us your economist view of what this trade deal with the United Kingdom means, and then lead us down the path of what it could mean for the big deal, which is probably with, I know you mentioned India earlier, but China.
Yeah, the big one is China. And a big part of this is to put pressure on China. So if we look at, I was just looking at the top items that we trade with Great Britain. So what we get from them, we get cars, medicine, power generators, scientific instruments. What we send to them, we send them oil, also medicine, aircraft. So most of those are kind of wholesale goods. One of the things you don't see in there is agriculture. And our farmers and ranchers have not had good access to the European market. And it's one of their top complaints and one of their top concerns is we need access to these markets, but the Europeans have not been very willing to work with us. And so they're saying now we're able to come up with an agreement with England that other nations can follow. But then, like you said, next up is India, South Korea, and Japan. And the big one is China, and they're starting those negotiations this weekend.
Give me an idea, Robert, as we are listening, and it's just unfolding as we speak. President Trump is still speaking in the Oval Office, but what was this deal? I mean, there was a universal 10% tariff across the board, a 25% tariff on foreign automobile, steel, aluminum. What stays in place? Is there still going to be that base tariff, and then they're negotiating maybe some of the other areas, but that is still the standard, or did they end up waiving that 10% universal tariff for the United Kingdom?
No, I don't think they will. So this is what we're still trying to figure out exactly. And they did say that the final deal is still in the works. So they're going to spend the next several weeks working out the final deal. But just in the last few minutes in the True Social post, they talked about this, and they said they talked about the revenue that will be generated from the 10% tariffs. I think they see those 10% tariffs as being lasting. across the board. And then it's a question of how much do you add on top to those 10% tariffs. And so I think that's what the negotiation will be about. But they specifically talked about an economic security agreement between the two countries. And then the United Kingdom is going to fast track U.S. goods coming into their country. So those seem to be two of the main points that are going to be part of this deal.
Robert Spenlove, thank you so much for joining us, senior economist at Zions Bank.
We are continuing to monitor the news conference in the Oval Office right now. The president has just announced that they're working through a deal with the United Kingdom regarding tariffs. And this really is the first domino in the tariff situation. And we want to take us back right now to the White House to listen in to some of the questioning. And in just a moment, we're going to get into the negotiations with China that are scheduled to happen this weekend.
That way it seems to be, and but we have that also. So we're a very big country. We have a lot of beef. We're a very big country, so it'll be great. Yes, yes.
You want me to jump?
Yes.
Let's talk about American beef really quickly, and it can't be understated. I'm Brooke Rollins, by the way. How important this deal is and what this means to American farmers and ranchers. Specific to the beef, this is going to exponentially increase our beef exports. And to be very clear, American beef is the safest, the best quality, and the crown jewel of American agriculture for the world. So I think a really important part of this deal isn't just the ethanol reducing of tariffs from 19 to 0, which for our row croppers is a huge deal, but also for beef. And as we move forward, I know our incredible trade team is looking at all of the meats, all of the produce, really all of our agriculture exports. And I don't know if there's an industry that has been treated more unfairly and has suffered more than our agriculture industry. So we look forward to, I'll be in the UK on Monday, talking to my counterpart over there for next week, and look forward to moving that out across the country. The president is
I think
incredible.
we could say that we have the best in the world, best tractors, the best everything in the world, and they say that our agriculture is, second to none. You understand, and it'll be a great asset. People are going to be able to have options, choice, and they'll have more of it, and that usually means lower prices. How about we'll do you and then you?
That was the Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins, addressing the fact that the UK is going to accept American beef and agricultural products. You heard what she said there. I think that'll be key to our 1033 discussion, exactly 1033 this morning, with House Speaker Mike Schultz, because our understanding is he has very recently, was it today, Caitlin, or was it yesterday? I'm talking yesterday, met with the Agriculture Secretary. And so we'll want to get his insights on how that discussion went and what this means for Utah ranchers and farmers.
Absolutely. Beef cattle here in Utah is a very big deal. And if ranchers have been restricted as much as we are learning from the European market, this is enormous news. And it makes a lot of sense now why House Speaker was meeting with the Agriculture Secretary. As you heard Brooke Rollins just say, the Secretary of Agriculture, she says, I don't know if there is an industry that has been more unfairly treated than the cattle and beef industry.
And in other developments, we're learning that the United States and Chinese negotiators are scheduled for this weekend to meet. They're calling it open talks in Geneva to see if they can start processing through the tariffs on China and then the Chinese tariffs that have been implemented on the goods coming into China from the United States. This is a very important development as well. I mean, we had the development this morning with the talks with the UK, but this weekend's development in terms of talks with China and the United States potentially could open the door for some sort of a deal with the tariffs there.
And part of what stands out to me, Debbie, and it appears that this 10% baseline tariff is remaining in place. And that is massive news, that if all these trade negotiations are happening, but that 10% tariff is staying in place, That is incredible. The entire world just received a 10% tariff, and it seems like that's not going to change.
But let's talk about the 145% tariff on Chinese goods. And Jay Evenson, the opinion editor of the Deseret News, thanks for hanging on the line with us as we walk through this developing story this morning. Jay, you were just in studio with us just a couple of days ago because you'd written an opinion piece for the Deseret News talking about how the tariffs could potentially steal Christmas. And I thought it was really critical what you addressed there is even if China and the United States reach some sort of deal with the tariffs, it could be a while to get for us to get things up and running in terms of imports again.
Yes, well, thank you for having me this morning. Yes, and we were talking the other day in particular about toys for Christmas. And this is the time here in May when retailers need to order those toys from China. We get about 80% of our Christmas toys, or toys overall, I guess, from China. And so they were hesitating and looking at do we make those orders or not with 145% tariff hanging over our heads. Now, it's very interesting to me. President Xi has got an interesting line to walk here because he doesn't want to appear like he's weak or like he's giving in to U.S. demands. And yet he's under a lot of pressures because the factory orders in China are down. They're still really suffering economic effects from the pandemic and from the shutdown of their economy for that. And a lot of these companies are looking for other routes for their supply chains. A lot of them are looking to Vietnam. And there's a real danger there that they develop relationships that become long-lasting and that China becomes sort of out of the picture going forward. And so there are a lot of pressures on President Xi to come to some kind of an agreement with Washington, but he can't afford to look weak, and he has to take a tough stance. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how these talks go this weekend.
Jay, the question I would have is who blinks first? It feels like they're playing a game of chicken and who blinks first. And I think usually the person that blinks first is the one that has the most to lose. And as we look at Christmas, and not being able to get the dolls into our stores versus China, who's a huge amount of their economy is dependent on America buying these very things. Who do you think blinks first? Who has the most to lose here?
Oh, it's a really good question because it goes a lot deeper than toys and other goods. China produces a lot of the rare earth minerals. They mine a lot of the rare earth minerals that we absolutely depend on for our iPhones, our smartphones, our other technology. And in fact, our military depends on a lot of these items that come from rare earths, the magnets and all these different things. So there are a lot of reasons why we may want to blink as well on this. And they didn't put tariffs on those. They completely cut off any trade on rare earth mineral products to the United States. So there's a lot of squeezing going on both sides. I think you really need some old-fashioned diplomacy here where both sides can look as if they're gaining something and both sides look as if they're giving very little. And it's going to be interesting to see if they have the type of skilled diplomats that they need to make that come about.
Jay Evenson from the Deseret News, thank you so much for joining us, Jay. But ultimately, Debbie, I look at this and I found it incredible as we were listening to the Prime Minister Keir Starmer speak to President Trump and the cabinet and everybody that's around. It was like so much patting everybody on the back and so much optimism. And I can't help but look at it and I thought, the 10% tariff, global baseline tariff, seems to have stayed in place, and everybody is celebrating this as a huge victory. Did President Trump just get away with slapping a 10% tariff on everybody, and now we're celebrating like, oh, they have a great deal? They finally came to agreement.
The big news this morning: the U.S. and Britain striking what looks to be a major trade deal. Happened just moments ago, literally as we were coming on the air. President Trump was speaking by phone to the British Prime Minister. And then secondary to that, which could be even a bigger deal, is that China and the United States have announced that there will be open talks. They will send negotiators to Geneva this weekend to work through their tariff differences.
The main character in every news story is a real person.
I want people who listen to Midday to listen to the show and think it is about them. They're hearing a story that touches them in some way.
The main character in every news story is you.
Whether it is their pocketbook, whether it is their child's safety, people should hear something that is more thought-provoking.
Midday with Maria Chaleos. All new noon to 3 on KSL News Radio.
As we're looking outside, the day is beautiful, the sun is shining, the skies are blue. Now we're talking about air conditioning. Earlier this week, I had to fire up my heater again. It is the whiplash of spring here in Utah.
That's right. I was going to say, welcome to Utah. This is why you need Mountain Home Services. So Mountain Home Services it's kind of one-stop shopping for, air conditioning fixes that you need. Maybe you need a new HVAC system. Well, they're your go-to. They can also help you with some plumbing issues or your electrical needs.
And when you have so many areas of expertise, because they've brought together just an incredible team of experts, it's one phone call. You don't need to reach out and have an air conditioning guy, a heating guy, a plumbing guy. You just need Mountain Home Services, and it all comes with this upfront pricing guarantee.
No hidden fees and 100% satisfaction guarantee as well.
Make sure you call and ask for the special KSL offer. Just for KSL listeners, go ahead and ask them about it. 801-543-2222 is the number. 801, easy to remember. 801-543-2222.
Or you can look them up online at mountainhomeservices.com. Again, mountainhomeservices.com.
Got an app idea? You're sitting on a gold mine, but stuck on how to bring it to life? Meet Dev Simplify, your superheroes for web and mobile app creation. DevSimplify.com. Just ask Coach Mike with Practice Planner Live.
As a coach, technology isn't my strength, but Dev Simplify took my idea for Practice Planner Live and turned it into the top practice planning platform on the market. They transformed my non-technical vision into an incredible web and mobile app that coaches like me now can't live without.
See, you don't need to be a tech wizard. Your idea plus Dev Simplify's superhero software skills equals a big win, right, Mike?
I had big plans for my app, and with Dev Simplify's help, it's now a thriving must-have platform for all coaches.
Dev Simplify, turning your brilliant ideas into amazing web and mobile. No tech skills required. Visit DevSimplify.com and let the magic begin. DevSimplify.com.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Troy, can you believe Memorial Day is almost here?
Pretty exciting.
Pretty exciting?
Yeah.
That's all you got for the official start to camping season and our entire reason for living?
I am excited, yes. What do you want from me?
Get pumped, man. It's camping Christmas. Kind of a big deal.
Oh, it's a huge flippin' deal. That's why Bish's is already celebrating Memorial Day with big deals on all RVs. We're selling travel trailers starting under $139 per month on approved credit.
And don't forget no tariff fees on new in-stock RVs.
Plus 90 days of all play and no pay OAC.
And clearance pricing on all remaining 2024s while they last.
We're even delivering select RVs same day so you can camp right away.
Same day camping? That is is a big flippin' deal.
Told you, camping season is a big deal. So come get the real big deals during the Memorial Day sales event happening right now at Bish's RV of Salt Lake and American Fork, where memories begin.
Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock numbers 90452-81733. Subject to prior sale. See dealer for details.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I volunteer with United Way to help the homeless in my community learn computer skills and build a basic resume. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story: police are investigating a deadly crash between a train and a car on the west side of Salt Lake City. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has the latest from the scene on 700 West near 1700 South.
We know this happened sometime before 4 o'clock this morning. Police say the car caught on fire after colliding with the train, and the driver, who was the only person inside that car, died here at the scene. Though we don't know exactly what led up to the crash or why this car was on this really small section of tracks. There are no crossing arms or lights here that I can see, just a yield sign and a railroad crossing sign.
We've reached out to Salt Lake City Police, but they say they are not releasing more information at this time. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: the United States and Britain are announcing a trade deal this hour that will lower tariffs between the two countries. President Trump says the deal cements the relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom for many years to come. The man who police say backed a pickup truck over a toddler earlier this week in Salt Lake City and then drove off has now been officially charged. Carlos Garcia faces charges of failing to stop at a serious injury accident and negligently operating a vehicle resulting in injury. Court documents also gave an update on the condition of the child, saying he will be in a body cast for at least 6 weeks. Your money at this moment: the Dow is up 373 right now. We're at 41,486. Coming up, a warm Mother's Day weekend in store. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:31. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
The KSL News Radio movie show comes to My Hearing Centers Friday from 10 to 1. But first, discover what My Hearing Centers can do for you. My Hearing Centers uses advanced technology to diagnose and treat hearing loss. These comprehensive evaluations determine the best treatment options. Then enjoy lifetime support with regular check-ins, cleaning, and maintenance. Call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. 801-701-1629 for more details. My Hearing Centers has offices from Ogden to St. George.
We were living in D.C. and we were ready to buy our first house, but it was in Salt Lake City.
I found out through family that the house that my dad grew up in was put on the market.
We had less than 24 hours to put an offer in, and it happened to be on New Year's Eve.
So we immediately contacted our realtor. She was on it from the very beginning. We got the house.
We got the house. Being 2,000 miles away, our realtor really helped us. And there's no way we would have gotten the house if we didn't have our realtor.
Discover how a realtor can make a real difference at myrealtorstory.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, most of our earlier accidents have cleared, but we still have a little bit of slowing northbound I-15 as you come over the point of the mountain, approaching Bangerter Highway, and again right in the midsection of the Salt Lake Valley through South Salt Lake. There's also a report of a new crash up in Layton. This is just off of I-15 on Hillfield Road at Gordon Avenue, but I'm not seeing a lot of slowing in that area. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialists. Whipple that away. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We should see a high today of 79, and then it'll keep getting warmer. The KSL Weather Center says we'll get close to 90 degrees on Saturday, and it'll stay warm through Mother's Day. Right now, let me refresh this and see. We're at 61 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, I love the investigative team at KSL 5 because they do such great stories when it comes to saving us money. And the story that Matt Gephardt aired last night at 10 has to do with using those apps to grocery shop with, and perhaps some of the hidden costs that you don't see when you load stuff into the cart when you're shopping online?
I was so surprised as I was watching this because I just assumed whatever is online is what it says on the shelf. Wouldn't that make sense? Like, it says, oh, it's $4.98 for a dozen eggs. I'm just going to assume if I go into the store, it says $4.98.
Let's listen to just a bit of Matt's story from last night, and then Matt's going to join the show live.
With food delivery apps, there is a cost to convenience. Service fees, delivery fees, tips. These are expenses we not only expect, they are clearly spelled out every time we check out. But there is a sneakier surcharge that you should be aware of too. Last month, KSL executive producer Sloan Tragg and I did a little retail sleuthing. We were looking into how prices compare between what you see on the shelf versus what you see in one of those delivery apps. We looked into 3 apps, DoorDash, Grubhub, and Uber Eats. Each has a little grocery button that will bring up a whole list of grocery stores. All right, let's begin where we begin all of our days, breakfast.
Right here, 20 ounce.
All right, and let's bring Matt Gephardt into the conversation. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
What did you have for breakfast that day?
We had Fruity Pebbles. We had, if you've been to a cereal aisle, you know there's no choice. There's no lack of choices, but we chose the one that was fun to say.
You leaned into Fruity Pebbles.
The one that was fun to say.
Not surprising from you and from producer Sloan that you'd lean into Fruity Pebbles,
yes,
for sure. So what'd you find from there?
Well, what was really interesting was that the prices were wildly different depending on where you were looking. So as you said, you just played in that clip, we were looking at 3 different apps and seeing how the prices compared to the price you pay on the shelf. And so we would open, say, DoorDash, and it would have one price, and then you'd open Uber Eats, and that same box of Fruity Pebbles would be a different price. And then you'd look at the store shelf, that also was a different price. Every single thing that we tested, we found this to be true. There was not one thing that we tested. And we didn't test every item in every single store, but we went to multiple stores. We tested these 3 different apps, and in each of those cases, we found that the price that you would pay by going into the store was less than the price that it was listed for on the app.
And this was the biggest shock to me because, again, I just made the assumption that everything online is the exact same price in the store. So what is to explain this? How does this happen?
Well, there's a couple of different explanations. The biggest, in some cases, these apps partner with stores.
Okay.
In other cases, they don't. Right? They can just kind of set their own prices, and so they go through and they maybe see what they have on store shelves, but it's not actually there or not really the same, and so they're kind of just doing their own thing and going through and shopping at these stores without really the stores being any wiser to the subject. So and then the cynic in me would say that, well, yeah, the lower you price something, the more enticing it is for someone to buy, and so they're certainly pricing things higher on the app, and the tricky part about it is, right, if you have 2 prices where you're looking at them side by side, you would take the one that costs less. But there's no way to look at these side by side. If you get to your checkout on your DoorDash, your Uber Eats, your Grubhubs, any of these delivery apps, you can see right there baked into your final checkout bill what percentage more you're paying for the convenience, what dollar amount you're going to pay for the delivery, what you're going to pay in a tip. These are all expenses that you know about that are clearly disclosed. This one, though, is sneaky, and it's real money. In some cases, we found things that were close to 40% different price between what we saw on the app versus what we would see in the store. And then other things.
Always more expensive? Or were they cheaper in some cases?
Every single time more expensive on the apps from the ones that we saw.
And these were the actual items that were more expensive
Ice
on
cream.
the app.
Ice cream was $4.99 at the store, but was 9% more on one of the apps and 12% more on one of the other apps. And that's where it becomes, and that's something you just don't know. You don't know unless you're literally standing in the store with the app open, which of course beats the entire purpose of having this convenience of these apps.
I have not once used one of these apps to do my grocery shopping. I'm, I guess, old school. I guess you'd say I'm old school nowadays, that I go to the store and I still shop for the best price based on what each store has posted online and their online ads before I go shopping or pick my store of the week. But if I were to use these apps for the convenience of my dining table, I suppose I would have to have like my daughter standing in aisle 11 at the grocery store, and I'd call her and say, like, I'm putting it in the cart online, and it's marked at $6. What price are you seeing there at the actual grocery store for me to know that there's any sort of a price difference?
And doesn't that beat the whole point of this? The whole point of this is I, on the other hand, use these apps constantly. That's how I came aware of the story in the first place.
Do?
I do. I have 2 10-year-olds and a 13-year-old, and it's, dance recital and baseball tournament and end of school parades and whatever season, and I use these constantly, and it's the only way I get by. Because if I can't get my shopping done on Saturday or Sunday, I'm not getting to a grocery store during the week. I don't have the time.
It probably saves you a lot of time.
That's what it is. It's a payoff, and I know that I'm paying for it. Right, I know that I'm paying for it with convenience and deliveries and everything. But what first hit me in the mouth was there's a store in my neighborhood. I go to it all the time, and I knew they had this product. And I got on one of the apps because I wanted this product, and it wasn't there. But a similar, more expensive product was, and I went, I know they have it there. Why am I only getting this one that's similar but more expensive? And that's what actually got me going over there and looking at my phone.
You drove over to the store because of that?
Because I needed this thing. I needed this thing and it wasn't there. And then I started I look at my phone and I look at the thing and I go, these prices aren't the same. And I had no idea that there are all these charges we know about, but they're not telling us about these ones.
Well, and this is very interesting because as you're talking about DoorDash, Grubhub, these third-party apps that do this, well, you could order directly from, say, Smith's or Sam's Club. And what I have noticed when I do this with Smith's, I have them shop for me as well, is you'll actually get like the weekly discounts and codes. Yes. It's all linked together. Yes. It sounds to me that this third-party app, they kind of have their own discretion to set whatever price they want.
They do. Somebody asked me the question, well, is this illegal? And it's like, I wouldn't say illegal, not a lawyer, but I wouldn't say it's illegal, right? Because you can charge anything you want for anything you want. If I wanted to go buy some grapes and turn around and sell them on eBay for markup, I can do that. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's so I wouldn't. They're not like saying it's going to be $8 and then actually charging you $8.50 or something,
right? They're up front. They're like, this is they're betting that you don't know what the actual price is.
I think so, and yes, to your point, there are a number of stores that have their actual. They do the service themselves as part of their in-store thing, and those ones seem to be a lot more accurate. In many cases, identical. And in fact, I had a conversation with the not Fresh Market anymore.
Albertson or
not Albertsons, Macy's. With a spokesperson for Macy's, and who said that when they do advertisements, when they do those deals, they price match on their apps, right? And so like when you do directly with their apps, then they do price match in those cases.
So your takeaway is from all of this, if you're going to use one of these apps, you'd better be aware.
It's more expensive than you realize. Yeah. It's more expensive than you realize because for example, I try to deal in margins, right? So if I'm going to buy one thing of milk, by the time I get through the delivery fee and by the time I get through the convenience fee, I am paying sometimes for a 5-gallon jug of milk, I'm paying $20. Not worth it. Almost never worth it unless it's an absolute emergency.
On an app.
On an app, right? But when you start doing
but
when you start doing these laws of margins, okay, if I'm going to shop for 4 days worth of lunches and dinners and breakfasts for my family, now it starts to become more worth it. Now, because the delivery fee doesn't go up, generally speaking, based on a percentage. The convenience fee, usually is $1.99 or $2 or something. So now it's a law of margins, and so now what I'm paying in those extra fees. Percentage-wise, which is how my mathematical brain works, I'm doing better. Mm-hmm. I have paid for this convenience, but I know what I'm paying for. And to be, as a consumer, to be punched in the mouth with, oh my gosh, there's an extra percentage in some cases, 9, 12, 37% more that I'm paying for products, to say nothing of the fact that there are deals that I don't even see on some of these apps, right? So 2-for-1 specials, and you just don't even see those things. That's where you have to be aware that you are paying this surcharge that you don't know about.
Have you changed your behaviors in terms of using the apps?
I just did the story last night. I haven't had a chance yet.
We'll see what Thursday brings.
I'm asking
Ask me
that
tomorrow.
question because we're going to ask our listeners to weigh in on this at 801-575-TALK. Again, 801-575-TALK. Are you old school like me? It's like, I got to go to the grocery store and I got to see it for myself, make sure it's the right size before I put it in the cart. Or are you a shopper who uses apps for delivery or pickup? 801-575-TALK. We'll take your live calls next.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Did you hear? A recent stash of $10 gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s, and less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-917-4635, and you are guaranteed a $10 gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-917-4635. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-917-4635 now to secure your $10 gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-917-4635.
This spring and summer, drought-proof your lawn with Revive Organic Soil Treatment, the only product that greens your lawn using less water.
Dave and Dujanovic. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
I don't use the apps to do my grocery shopping. I use my feet, the cart, and my eyeballs. And I'm in the actual aisle at the grocery store. I cannot lean into the apps. And I feel like that's pretty old school after talking to investigative reporter Matt Gephardt, who uses the apps to shop, and that's how he found out what he found out, and he's just talking to us about it.
Yeah, it's that you are paying a premium if you're using the third-party apps. If you're using DoorDash, Grubhub, the prices in his investigation were higher than they were at the store. And they don't necessarily disclose that. They're not saying, hey, there's a 10% markup convenience fee. They just put the number out there, and you decide whether or not you want that item.
801-575-TALK. Are you old school like me, or are you more like Matt? You lean into the apps. We're going to take your live calls in just a moment. Tell me why. I mean, why are you so set on using the apps to shop? And Matt, you explained yourself quite well. And you said, in fact, because you use the apps to do your grocery shopping, you were able to figure this whole thing out.
Yep.
That you're going to charge more for an item that would cost you less if you actually were more like me when it came to grocery shopping.
Yeah, your old school ways are saving you money, to be sure, and not just in the ways you might think
How
about.
much do you think it could save somebody on like $100 grocery tab?
I mean, it's hard to say because the prices were different item to item.
So it would.
And then and the other thing that we noticed that it didn't account for like sales 2-for-1, or if you buy 2, 25% off. Frequently the apps didn't account for those things, and so it's really hard to say. Because so many times you go into the store and it's like if you buy 4, then automatically you're paying the price of 2 or something, but you got to buy 4, and those sorts of deals really weren't available on a lot of those apps.
Are we that surprised though that we're paying a premium for convenience. When you go into the deli section and they have the sliced ham or they chopped up the pineapple, we know that we're paying far more for the convenience of them preparing the food. So is it that much of a surprise that these companies will be like, you know what? We're going to do the shopping for you. We're picking it off the shelf. We're keeping you from walking down the Oreo aisle and grabbing every flavor out there. Or should we be that surprised that there is a convenience fee? Or is it just the fact that they're not disclosing that there's this convenience fee?
It's the fact that you're already, for me, it's the fact that they're already charging a convenience fee. When you get to checkout, it says convenience fee. I'm already paying $4 or $5 or whatever for the convenience. It's spelled out right there. And so then why? I'm also I go to a lot of movies, right? And I get in on the apps, and some of them have done away with it. But one of the things, if you want to pre-reserve your tickets, save you the trouble of driving to the box office, they will have a convenience fee for ordering through the app, right? Sometimes, and I know that if I go to the movie theater, I'm going to pay my $8.25 for a movie ticket. If I do it here, it's going to cost me $10 because they're going to charge me an extra $1.75 for my ticket. But what I don't find in that case is that if I go to the movie theater, the ticket's actually only $5, right? So they tell you there's a convenience fee, they charge you the convenience fee, they're upfront with it, but then they also add in this surcharge. That's sneaky to me.
Hi, Rich.
Hello.
So do you use the apps to grocery shop?
I have in the past, and I've used the apps for ordering food as well. I mean, but the fees and the prices do not align with what I think it's worth. There's one experience particularly at Walmart. There is by default, they will replace what you want to order with something else if you don't uncheck a box. And it may cost you more, but they don't tell you that it's not there. You just get it, and then they go back and charge your credit card more money.
So based on this is this based on an experience you had, Rich?
Absolutely. You get something else, and it's a different brand, it's a different size, it's just not what you ordered, and you can call and they'll. I've had to make an adjustment on it, but
okay, that's good to know. Yeah.
I've had the same experience, Rich, with Walmart, but when they are loading, they will actually show me, hey, we had to sub out this many products. Is that okay? And we've actually said no because we can't choke down the generic Oreos. So we're like, no. If it's not name brand Oreos, take those back.
I do not even notice a difference in the taste. I'm no Oreo expert.
That's incredible.
But I will tell you,
it's like eating cardboard.
To this day, my kids still roast me over buying all generic brands at the grocery store the entire time they were growing up. The running joke is, Mom, when will we ever be able to have Captain Crunch instead of Lieutenant Munch cereal? Hi, Bill. Do you shop old school or new school?
I am definitely old school.
Like me. Why?
Well, because I think it's my age mostly. I like to get ready. I like to go to the store and interact with people and look at the stuff. But like my adult children who are in their 20s, I've asked them, why do you shop like that? Why do you, order? You pay this much extra. And they say, well, I will pay extra because I don't want to get ready. I don't want to go out. I don't want to, and then when they do, they want to use the self-checkout. They don't want to go and interact with people so it's a
different thing, a different way of thinking. You think like a lot like I do. I'm very old school. I like to get ready, go to the grocery store, but I've banned myself from using self-checkout. And I mainly go through to the cashier now.
My wife and I are on the north and south poles of this topic because she will not put a foot into a store. She orders everything. She is the Matt Gephardt of the Noriega family, where she's like, oh, I don't go into the stores. She orders everything, but I'm very much like you, Debbie. I like to go into the store. I like to shop the deals. I like to look, okay, am I going to buy generic? Am I going to buy name brand? And I will say this, though, because she shops online, because she uses that convenience, even if it might be a premium in some areas, you might be paying a little bit more, I think overall we save a lot of money because what do I do when I go inside the store? Oh, look at that, Oreos, a whole, look at all those potato chips. So I do a lot of this impulse shopping where I pay a premium.
And Matt, you brought up a point that I think a lot of families are faced with: raising kids.
Yeah.
You're working full time, got busy schedules, and using convenience to grocery shop gives you more family time.
I mean, no question about it, right? I mean, that's the main benefit to these apps is convenience. And like with anything, when there's a convenience, you're frequently paying more. In this investigation we did last night on KSL 5 News at 10 o'clock, it's the stuff they're not telling you that you're paying more for that tweaked my nose a little bit.
You like the full disclosure. I just want to know you're charging me a premium.
I do.
Just let me know. Matt Gephardt, thank you so much. Always love your stuff. Matt's KSL investigative team, they do incredible work. So make sure you check it out, ksltv.com. They post all their stories.
And you can also catch them on KSL 5 News. Straight ahead, caught this story on KSL 5 News as well. There's a roundabout in one particular community in Utah County that has worn out its welcome. We're going to go in depth on that next. Why? Well, because roundabouts give me the runaround. We're going to talk about it next.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
When should you file for Social Security to get the most out of your benefits? Get the answer in a free report, your guide to filing for Social Security in 2025 and beyond. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000 and have not filed for Social Security, get your free report now by calling 801-251-1046. 801-251-1046. There's more to maximizing Social Security than filing for your benefits early or late. This free report details all of the different things you must consider that could help you get the most net income from Social Security. Wring every nickel out of your benefits that are rightfully yours. Get your free report now by calling 801-251-1046. That's 801-251-1046.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for.
It's time to spring into summer with Soda Weight Loss. Because right now, you'll get our biggest discount of the year.
Are you serious? Just 3 weeks in, and the pounds are dropping off very quickly. I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight without drugs, without hunger, and the weight stays off.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal. I was so proud of myself. My body did exactly what it wanted to do. I just gave it its tools.
Let's spring into summer right now with Soda Weight Loss. If you want to look like this for summer, now is the time to join America's #1 weight loss company for client satisfaction and results.
Remember, this is our best offer of the year, so let's go.
Get started now at SodaWeightLoss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Are you looking to invest in your home, increase its livability, increase its value, increase its curb appeal? Well, doors and windows are a great place to start, and there's no better place to start than Peach Doors and Windows.
Maybe the purpose of your home has changed. Maybe you're an empty nester, or you just want to maximize the view of your home. Bring Peach your wish list. Think about out-of-the-box shapes and sizes. What you can imagine, Peach Doors and Windows can make happen. They can do renovations that other companies simply won't touch.
You can check out all of their 5-star reviews on Google, where customers rate Peach throughout every step of the process. From sales to installation, they will make sure you get exactly what you you want. Check out their website at peachbuildingproducts.com. You can give them a call, 801-566-1255. They do free in-home estimates.
Or better yet, check them out in person, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake City. They're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, or check them out online, peachbuildingproducts.com.
Get ready for Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, May 15th through the 18th. Get the highest value for your RV guaranteed during the biggest RV trade event of the year. Shop the best RV deals in America with new RVs starting as low as $92 a month. Get ready for the holiday weekend with up to 45% off grills and 25% off product installation. Plus, we'll have free hats, free propane refills, free food, and fun for the whole family. Don't miss the incredible Red, White, and New Trade event, May 15th through the 18th at your local Camping World.
See team for full details and disclaimers.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story, the Trump administration announced its first trade deal since imposing a new round of worldwide tariffs. President Trump says the United Kingdom has approved an agreement to lower the tariff rate on British auto exports and eliminate it for steel and aluminum. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick also makes the case for a baseline tariff rate.
We still have a 10% tariff on, which will produce $6 billion of revenue for the United States. So the idea was, how do they keep their jobs, protect their economy, and do the best for their people while opening the market for us?
The final details are still unknown. The U.S. has had a trade surplus with the U.K. in recent years. Here in Utah, consumer sentiment has gone down for a third consecutive month. KSL News Radio's Josue Sanchez.
According to the report by the Kempsey-Garner Policy Institute, Utah saw a 1.4% decrease in consumer sentiment. While it's another fall, it's still above the national average.
Where Utah's definitely experienced a decline, but it hasn't declined as quickly as the U.S. So we're kind of seeing this widening gap between sentiment here in Utah and sentiment for the U.S. as a whole.
Chief Economist Phil Dean says the uncertainty of trade policies and inflation are likely behind the decline.
I also think there's an issue of, what do tariffs mean for prices moving forward? That when we saw the big declines in 2021, it coincided pretty closely with inflation ramping up.
Josue Sanchez, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment, it looks like the markets like that announcement of the trade deal with the UK. The Dow is up 561. That's about 1 4/10%. We're at 41,673. Coming up, warmer weather in store for the Mother's Day weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Hi, it's Cindy Olsen here, and whether it's for mom, sister, daughter, or the new graduate, the perfect gift for her is at the Dave's Bernina Spring Sale in St. George and Provo. Discounts on all Bernina machines with a limited time offer of 48 months, no interest on certain models. Amazing savings on the Bernina 570 and 770 Quilter Edition machines with an incredible low price to add embroidery. Great deals on suitcase systems and big books to help with quilting, serging, and embroidery. Get this. Buy the Bernina 590 or 790 Pro and get free gift bundles worth over $3,600. Bernina quilting machines are simply the best and save thousands of dollars in May while they last. Come in now for bargains on trade-ins, classroom, and demo machines that come with warranties. Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo. Dave'sBernina.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. And here's Heather Kelly.
A crash on the exit ramp from southbound I-15 to Pleasant Grove Boulevard. It looks like that has cleared, but you still have a bit of delay. It's almost backed up onto the main flow of I-15 southbound. Other than that, you've got good speeds now on all the freeways. No problems on I-15 northbound getting into downtown Salt Lake or on the east and west side belt routes around the Salt Lake Valley. Water belongs in pipes, not in your yard or on your floor. Call Utah Utility Pro, your leak detection and repair specialist. Water, sewer, main, and gas lines. Utah Utility Pro, utahutilitypro.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's going to start to feel like summer. Today's high 79. We're up to the upper 80s Saturday and Sunday for Mother's Day. Right now it's sunny at 65 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
So I have a problem with roundabouts. I feel like they give me the runaround, especially when they all of a sudden become very random. Who plopped this roundabout in the middle of an intersection? Well, there's no other roundabouts for miles. So when I saw that KSL 5 Television's Alex Cabrera went to Utah County where they're taking out a roundabout, I'm like, that's what you get when you wear out your welcome.
I didn't know we wore out our welcome with roundabouts. I thought this was the trend. This is what we're moving to. We're trying to get away from four-way stop signs. I love roundabouts. I do get frustrated because I think maybe 3% of America actually understands who has the right of way in a roundabout.
Well, it's because they're random. If we had them more frequent, more, well-placed at intersections, it just feels random. Like I live in the land of roundabouts ever since I moved out to South Jordan. I'm surrounded by roundabouts. It does slow traffic, so there is an upside to it. It's like a sort of like naturally calming traffic device, right? Because you come up on the roundabout and you have to slow down, which is a good thing. However, to your point, there are many people who don't know how to properly use roundabouts. And I ran into, not physically, but I ran into somebody who had this problem last week leaving my neighborhood in South Jordan. I needed to go I had entered the roundabout. Okay, so when you, FYI, if you don't know this, the people in the roundabout have the right of way. If you're at the yield point of the roundabout and you haven't entered the roundabout, you got to wait your turn. So I needed to go kind of like make the turn and then go straight through and go to the other side. Well, this person thought I was going to hug the inner part of the roundabout. I don't know why they thought this, because I have the option to go through and exit the roundabout right after the point that they're sitting to get into the roundabout. But because they were so antsy to get into the roundabout, apparently, and join the rest of us in the roundabout, they cut me off.
You had to lap around?
I had to lap around. But I decided not to lap because I looked up and I saw, oh, nice. The roundabout situation is creating a lot of backup coming into the roundabout the other direction. So I don't want to roundabout there because I then have to cut across. It just became really messy. So people do not know how to use the roundabout.
Part of the problem, so we have some breaking news here? Oh, wow.
Oh.
Are we seeing a live picture from the Vatican?
Yeah, there's white smoke.
White smoke. A pope has been chosen. Wow. Yeah, sorry, Debbie,
Go
I stole
ahead.
your thunder.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm just seeing it. Yeah, we're looking at from CNN, NBC. There's cheering in the plaza.
So let's go there live right now. Let's take one of the either CNN or Fox News or News Nation live.
Have a pope. Yeah, incredible excitement. It was the crowd that really saw the white smoke first. And It was an electric atmosphere as the smoke came out, and it was clearly white as it billowed out from the Sistine Chapel chimney. A real sense of joy and excitement here, an amazing moment.
Joy and excitement, and as that smoke comes out, now that means there is a cardinal who is now a pope, who has accepted the mantle of St. Peter, Christopher,
That's right.
and will be going to the Room of Tears.
That's right. Well, he will be asked by the cardinals, do you accept? And he has to say yes or no, and then they ask him what name will you take, and he has to say which name he will take, and then the cardinals all come up and make an oath of allegiance to the new pope, and then the pope will go into the Room of Tears, it's called that because it's a room where traditionally popes who have just been elected are often overwhelmed by emotion, and then he'll be fitted into the white cassock. They have 3 sizes: small, medium, and large.
And these are the bells we are now hearing, and you can see this right over St. Peter's Basilica over our shoulder. We will show you. You can actually see the giant bell ringing, and that is the formal announcement and confirmation that there is a new pope here as the head of the Catholic Church in Rome. And now what happens is we wait with this joy, right? But now there is the anticipation of who? Yeah. No one knows who the new pope is, who has just been selected and elected, until we see that man walk out on the balcony with the red curtains behind us here on St. Peter's Square, which we can all see. So now, in these next minutes, as we await that, Christopher, I would imagine the tens of thousands of people who are already here, now these bells are ringing out over Rome. People will come. Oh, yes. More and more people will come to perhaps be among the very first to see the Pope. We won't know who it is until we see his face.
He will be introduced to everyone at the same time.
Yes.
And it will be the Cardinal Deacon, the Proto-Deacon, Dominic Mamberti, who will announce it. Of course, if it's not him announcing it, then he could be elected.
You know,
but we are expecting Cardinal Mamberti, the Proto-Deacon, to make the announcement, Habemus Papam. And he will then give the name of the cardinal that has been elected Pope and the name that the new Pope has decided to take.
Yes, and that tradition of taking a new name started with the first Pope, of course, St. Peter, a name no one has taken since in his honor, but he was born Simon. And, of course, we are here at St. Peter's Basilica, the very first Pope. Father Edward Beck, Passionist priest, is joining us now. So, Father Beck, here we are, this, if we presume, 5th round? Fourth or fifth. It's unclear exactly which round it was of voting. A new pope on the same day that we found out the last 2 popes had become a pope. So what does this mean in terms of who the man is who's going to walk out on that balcony within the next half an hour?
So exciting to be here to witness this, and I think it means either of 2 things. Either it was one of the front runners whom we've been considering with the names, or I do think there are rumors, these are rumors, Italian rumors, that it's possibly an Italian who has been elected, and that it is not someone we've necessarily been talking about. Could be a surprise. So I'll be very interested to see who walks out on that balcony, and also it'll be interesting to see what they wear. We know that they wear the traditional white cassock of the Pope, but if you'll remember, Pope Benedict, it didn't fit him exactly, so he wore a white alb, but he wore a red velvet mozzetta with ermine, so it was a very regal, very traditional kind of ensemble that he walked out on the balcony with. Pope Francis dispensed with all of that. He came out in simply the white soutane, the white cassock, and he said, Buonasera, very informal, and he greeted the people and asked them to pray for him. So the tone of what we see and the dress of what we see, I think, will be very important, but we can be prepared for a surprise of someone we haven't been talking about, I think, but again, it could be one of the front runners. Nobody knows. These are own rumors.
Nobody knows, and we may not know for a long time, if ever. Christopher, looking back at Pope Francis and some books that were written about how it happened for him, it also happened at this time, either this vote or the one, we're not exactly sure whether this was the 4th or 5th round, but you see how you start with a few front runners, you could have 4 or 5, and how the votes move.
Yes.
For it to have happened, I understand the past 2 times it did happen this quickly, but for it to happen this quickly, it does mean groups of people need to move behind candidates very quickly.
Yes, and I think that's how the conclave is set up. The first vote kind of sets out where support lies, and then it very quickly becomes a 2-horse race because Cardinals shift their support to the leading candidates, and that's why you do get a result swiftly when it comes to a secret ballot.
Yes, a secret ballot, and watching these bells and this beautiful sound ring, the feeling of a pure sort of a celebration. Ben Wiedemann is here also in St. Peter's Square, surrounded by people. And Ben, at that instant, when they saw the smoke, what happened?
There was a great cheer, a cheer of joy, because so many people here have been waiting since yesterday to see the white smoke. We saw the black smoke at midday, and anticipation is growing as the day goes on. So what we heard was this great cheer of relief and joy as we saw that great plume of white smoke emerging from the chimney on top of the Sistine Chapel. Now, of course, as I think you already mentioned, we don't know if this was the 4th or the 5th round of voting since yesterday evening. We have yet to see. We don't know, of course, who the new pope is, but we do know habemus papa. We have a pope, as they say in Latin. So we'll have to wait and see. All eyes will be on the Basilica of St. Peter behind me to hear the name of the new pope. Aaron?
And thank you, Ben. And Christopher, part of the reason that we don't see the new pope immediately is, I'm sure, part of the pomp and the circumstance and the tradition, but also a certain level of practicality. The Pope is going into the, as you said, to see which vestments fit.
Yes.
Right? There must be a moment of reflection, and then putting those on, and I can imagine, in a sense, the silence in that room, into what they know will be the cacophony of this square.
Yes.
And the preparation, and also, does everyone who would be Pope, and certainly if it's a front runner, I presume the answer to this is yes, because they knew they might have to be, but the name selection.
Yes, well, I think as the votes show that a candidate is getting closer to election, then the candidate starts to think, well, what name would I choose? And some cardinals perhaps think about that name a bit before that moment, but I think as it becomes clearer that that person could be elected, they start to think, well, what name could I choose? And Pope Francis, he chose the name St. Francis of Assisi because the cardinal next to him, when it was clear that Pope Francis, well, Cardinal Bergoglio would be elected, said to him, don't forget the Paul. And that made him think, well, I'll choose St. Francis of Assisi, who is the saint of poverty and humility, and that's why he chose that name.
And Elise, the first time anyone had ever chosen the name of Francis as a pope, when Pope Benedict, Joseph Ratzinger, picked his name, he picked someone more of a pope he had admired in the past, one of the founders of the monastic life. So it fit with who he was and what he wanted. There is so much in a name, which as we are all sitting here waiting, all of this is playing out just behind us, right now behind closed doors, but about to emerge.
Yeah, all the tens of thousands of people here, as you can see, are waiting to see who this man is going to be and what his name is going to be, because as you said, so much is in a name. Francis, in choosing the name Francis of Assisi, often called the poor man of Assisi, was emblematic of everything that Francis wanted to embrace and promote in his papacy, you know, this promotion and embracing of the poor and the marginalized. And so we're going to see what the next pope chooses as his name and what kind of roadmap that might be to the future of this pontificate.
And Katie McGrady is with us, obviously our Vatican analyst. You have been with us so much over these past few days. But as we don't know whether this was vote 4 or vote 5, but here we are. What is happening right now? What do you think is happening right now as the man who is going to be the Pope is about to be introduced to all of us here and to the whole world watching?
And the whole world is watching. I actually just got a text message from my daughter's second grade teacher of all the kids in class watching the live stream because they're excited to meet the next Pope. As they're tallying the votes, they would be keeping count inside the room, and as soon as whoever it was crossed that 89 threshold, they obviously keep counting, but that man begins to feel the weight of this. And then he's asked, do you accept? What is your name? And then he's given a moment to collect himself and go to what's known as the Room of Tears. It's kind of this little side room. I know Christopher and Elise have been in that room off the Sistine Chapel where he'll choose the size, the shoes, what does he wear, and he gives himself hopefully a minute to collect himself, to think about what am I going to say, how am I going to greet the faithful, to feel the weight of this moment. And it's called the Room of Tears because it'd be completely reasonable to believe he probably cries. If we think about it, a pope is a bishop of Rome, of course, this figure on the world stage, but whoever walks out on that loggia was ordained a priest, served in a parish, rose the ranks. I mean, here's a guy, he's feeling all of that right now.
He is, and I think anyone out here, regardless of your religious persuasion, you would have to admit you felt a lump in your throat. I mean, it is you feel it. It's a beautiful thing to see so many people who are so happy. Ben is with people who are celebrating right now in the square, Ben, and now awaiting to find out who the Pope will be.
Yes, I'm with Brother Renaud from Toulouse in France. Yes. And what is your reaction?
I am happy. We have a Pope. We have a Pope. Habemus Papam, we say in Latin. And now we ask. We are so happy to be here at Rome today. And so what? And so what? I wait for see the face of the Pope, of the new Pope.
And have you been here all day, Brother Renaud?
No. So a few.
I trust you guys. I feel like you should stay here.
2 hours. For my English.
And is there somebody you want to be Pope?
I am French, so if the Pope will be French, sarebbe una buona cosa.
He's saying it would be, if the Pope is French, it would be a good thing.
Oh la 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 la. God has chosen a Pope for us. Allora, basta. The Pope will be the Pope. Basta.
I can't disagree with you on that. Thank you, Brother Renaud.
You're welcome.
Merci beaucoup.
Bye.
Au revoir. So there, we have a very happy brother of the Dominican order from Toulouse, who's very happy, Aaron, to have a new Pope, even though he does not know who that new Pope is. Aaron?
3 simple words that capture the moment. I am so happy, or 4 simple words, as he said. So, Christopher, we watch, we wait. More and more people are flooding into the square. We can see they have certain walk paths, and we can see people, flooding in because now they want to know who the Pope is. So this is going to happen for the next 15 or 20 minutes, and then on that balcony behind us, and wow, we have a view of that.
Yep.
On that balcony, as you said, they will say the formal words, Habemus Papam, we have a Pope. And then what happens?
Well, so the Cardinal will come out and he will make this announcement in Latin. He will say, we have news of great joy. Habemus Papam, we have a Pope. And then he will do the formal title of the Cardinal. He'll give us the first name, surname, and then say in Latin, who has chosen the name, whatever that is. So that's how it's going to work.
We hear his baptismal name first.
Yes.
And then we hear the name that he has chosen to be his name as Pope.
Yes, his baptismal first name and surname, and then the name as he is as Pope.
And then he steps aside and out walks
the new Pope.
The new Pope to a field of joy and with a weight, a new weight on his shoulders.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, you were mentioning earlier that there's sometimes a moment that's taken between.
We're following national coverage. It looks like at the Vatican, white smoke, the bells have rung, a new pope has been chosen. The announcement of that new pope is expected probably in the next 15 minutes or so. We're going to step away, but we will come back as soon as that announcement happens. But big news, breaking news, a new pope has been chosen. We'll just find out who shortly.
The news of the day lands harder when it affects you.
I really want our stories to focus more on the human element. Focus on how it's affecting the mom and her children. I want us to go more in depth and really take a look at what is at the heart of the story and how does it affect your pocketbook or how does it affect your lifestyle. My name is Maria Chaleos. I invite you to join us from noon to 3 for Midday right here on KSL News Radio.
One of the great things about Salt Lake City Fat Loss is it works. It's so hard to find something when you're trying to lose weight that is effective, that doesn't ruin your life. That was what I was afraid of. I was afraid when I started the Salt Lake City Fat Loss, I thought I was just going to be miserable. And then I was going to have to cut out all the things in my life that I love. But no, it wasn't. It was a great experience, and I was so happy with the results. They told me many people will lose up to a pound of fat per day, lose 20, 30 pounds in just a month or two, and I saw incredible results. I lost 25 pounds in the first 3 weeks, 57 over 2 months, and I did it without injections, without medicine, without any insane workout routines. So if you're interested in losing some weight, I found great success with Salt Lake City Fat Loss. So go ahead and reach out to them. Their website, slcfatloss.com is the website, slcfatloss.com.
Market volatility isn't slowing down. If you're nearing retirement, now is not the time to wait and see. Every day of uncertainty can put your future at risk. It's time to diversify. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I want you to know you can create certainty, locking in guaranteed income for life. This means predictable, stable cash flow, even in turbulent times. You've worked too hard to leave your retirement to chance. Right now, there are options to receive up to 30% upfront or annual growth of up to 10% for retirement income. That's up to $30,000 upfront or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't wait. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Any examples provided are hypothetical. Annuities are issued with prospectus and sales brochures and should be reviewed carefully before funding as features and benefits vary. DBA in most states as Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
An emergency can happen any second. Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
Get ready for Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade Event, May 15th through the 18th. Get the highest value for your RV guaranteed during the biggest RV trade event of the year. Shop the best RV deals in America with new RVs starting as low as $92 a month. Get ready for the holiday weekend with up to 45% off grills and 25% off product installation. Plus, we'll have free hats, free propane refills, free food, and fun for the whole family. Don't miss the incredible Red, White, and New Trade Event, May 15th through the 18th at your local Camping World.
See dealer for full details and disclaimers.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Worried about your battery and the heat? We get it. You don't want to get stranded somewhere with a car that feels like an oven. We've got you covered at AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination. Our free battery testing and charging service can help. And if you need a battery, we'll help you find a new one, no problem. Power through with free battery testing and charging at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Behold, is I, Queen Trustworth, sentinel for seniors amongst the knights of Scamelot, here to give thee warning. Scams and fraud are on the rise in Utah, and seniors are especially under siege. Be wary of unsolicited texts, phone calls, and salespeople asking for personal or financial information, and never send money to someone thou hast only met online. If thou hast doubts, talk to someone thou trusteth and get educated at scams.utah.gov.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
All in together now, we can make it better, can we do it? We rope it up, cause we know how to jump.
Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. It's official. A new pope has been selected after 4 or 5 rounds of voting. White smoke bellowed from the Sistine Chapel as the bells rang in St. Peter's Square. We're waiting to see who it is. ABC News correspondent Maggie Rulli is in the square.
It is simply incredible. There's almost not words to describe it. The emotions are overwhelming. You mentioned those tears. So many people, when we saw that white smoke, first there was applause, and then they were overcome by emotion, breaking down in tears, smiling. We've seen people immediately hopping on the phone to call family and friends, telling them that there's white smoke. We have a pope. And all of a sudden, David, as I'm looking out around me, you just feel this crush of humanity. We see constantly people streaming into the square.
The square is at capacity with more than 250,000 people flooding into the square. A new affordable housing project is now open in Salt Lake City. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
The building has 200 units, with a quarter of them dedicated to people earning as low as 20 to 30% of the area's median income. Another quarter is set for those making 40 to 50% of it, and the rest are for those making 70 to 80% of the area's income. The amenities go further than just a washer and dryer. There's actually an on-site child care center to help families living there. Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall says it brings to life what they've envisioned for housing development in Salt Lake City. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 563 points to 41,677. Coming up, weather and traffic, and again, our top story, a new pope. We just don't know who it is yet. KSL News Time, 10:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Mother's Day is just around the corner, and it's not too late to give the gift of a beautiful lawn and garden thanks to Gardena. A Gardena retractable hose reel makes it easier than ever for Mom to water her flowers and vegetables. Gardena hose reels feature a robust spring-driven rewind mechanism that smoothly releases the hose to the length desired and then retracts the hose back into the reel. No more tangled hoses laying around. And that's not all. With the new Gardena Seleno Flex robotic mower, Mom can have a fresh-cut lawn every day without needing to lift a finger. Experience quiet operation, smart scheduling, and effortless maintenance with Gardena's most advanced robotic mower. Get the perfect lawn without the work. Gardena is currently offering KSL listeners 20% off and free shipping at Gardena.com by entering promo code KSL at checkout. The sale ends on Sunday, though, so make sure to take advantage of these great savings now, whether you're shopping for Mom or looking to make your own yard work a little easier.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Here's Heather Kelly.
We do have a new crash on I-80. This is by 5600 West, but it's over on the right shoulder, not really causing any type of delay at all right now. You still have the remnants of a crash from earlier this morning, northbound I-15, just after 5300 South in Murray, but everything is mostly gone from there. And no delays right now on I-15 either direction, getting into downtown Salt Lake or going through Parley's Canyon. Another true David versus Goliath miracle movie from director T.C. Christensen. See Raising the Bar, the story of high jumper Alma Richards' journey from rural Utah to an Olympic gold medal in theaters now. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, a lot like summer today, hot with highs in the upper 70s and sunny skies. Right now it's 67 degrees. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Even from where we sit here in Salt Lake City, it has been fascinating to watch what is going on at the Vatican right now. The white smoke billowed from the Sistine Chapel just a few moments ago. We took you there live to the Vatican as crowds came running to greet the new pope. A new pope has been selected. We just don't know who it is yet, but we're told by ABC News and our other networks that at any moment now, the new pope will emerge from the Vatican onto the balcony and greet the tens of thousands of people there cheering below.
We'll follow with ABC News coverage, who have been carrying this live and giving us the latest updates.
Western monasticism, Saint Benedict, and Francis, as you say, took the name of Francis of Assisi. So we can read probably, we don't know for sure, but a fair bit into the name that the new pope will take.
And of course, Father Walk, thank you for being here for the coverage, and stick with us here. A lot to witness here together in the coming minutes and hours here in Rome. Father Walk mentions the first name, the last name, and then obviously the name chosen as the new Pope of the Catholic Church. For Catholics watching all over the world, obviously the most important thing out of the gate is the first name and the last name, because they want to know, who is this Pope? Is it the one that perhaps a particular community or corner of the world has been rooting for, whether or not this would be history made here today, or have they chosen an Italian pope? Are they going to return to some of their historical roots? These are questions we simply do not have answered at this point. As Father Walk said, about 40 minutes or so from now, we should have the new pope standing there at the balcony. We know back in 2013, the white smoke appeared at about 7:06 in the evening. The bells began ringing about a minute later. Habemus Papam came at about 8:12, so it was an hour and 6 minutes or so after the smoke and the bells that we actually saw the new pope. So we will keep our cameras trained right there. You're not going to miss a moment of this. Liz Nagy of WLS in Chicago, also part of our team of ABC stations covering this as well. And Liz, I know you've had a chance to talk with many people, Americans and others, who have gathered here at the Vatican to witness history. What are they telling you?
David.
We'll come back to Liz in just a moment, as you can imagine, with the cameras and the eyes of the world on the Vatican communications, and perhaps it's just the really tight security with the Sistine Chapel. They swept the chapel and they jammed communications in some parts of the Vatican, and obviously they do that with every conclave to prevent there from being any communication with the cardinals who are inside that room. No newspapers, no television, no cell phones. They gave up the cell phones well before they went into that conclave. Let's go back down to James Longman. He's right in St. Peter's Square. And James, we've been watching the live pictures here, and you're seeing it right behind you, the swelling of this crowd growing in numbers as they wait to meet the new Pope.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, David, what a thrill when that white smoke went into the air. People were screaming, not just because they're seeing white smoke, because I don't think anybody expected it to come this early. And let's face it, it is early, given how many electors there are, 133. We just did not expect it to come at this time. It feels like this group of men have wanted to give us certainty in a time of great uncertainty. I think this early vote, they want us to show how united they are, because we've spent the last few days talking about how different all these cardinals are. And they're showing the world that, no, we're on the same page, we are a family, as John Walk said. Just behind me, we just watched the marching band come through. Vatican City is, of course, a state. It has a military, the Swiss Guard. They came through in their marching dress, their formal attire. They marched past us there, and they've gone down. They're still filing up to the balcony, just underneath the balcony there in front of St. Peter's Basilica, because, of course, this Pope is not just the leader of 1.4 billion Catholics, but he's also head of state. So they will stand to attention underneath that balcony, waiting for him to come out. But what an extraordinary moment for all these people who are flooding down. More and more and more of them. But the area behind me, they kept pretty thin for the last few days because they wanted to avoid a crush. Feels like they were saving the space, honestly. And now, no more space to save because people want to get a front seat. And flags from all over the world. People are hoping their guy, maybe he's the one that they've chosen. And we had all kinds of different ideas of these different groups, right? Was it going to be a missionary pope? Was it going to be an administrator? Was it going to be a diplomat? Was it going to be one of the more kind of personable candidates? We simply did not know. An early decision like this, or let's say early, possibly this means Parolin. That's what a lot of people were saying, speculating certainly before conclave, that this many people, this many men, these many cardinals, if they were going to make a decision at this point, it might have meant that someone they knew, like Parolin, was going to be there. But of course, we have no idea.
Yeah, we certainly do not know. James brings up Parolin. For those of you at home watching in the States, that's Pietro Parolin, the Secretary of State chosen by Pope Francis to be the chief diplomat, if you will, and really to be at Pope Francis's side during his tenure as Pope. He is from Italy. He's 70, but of course he was just one of many contenders. There were several others from Italy. It wasn't believed that the Pope would be from the United States, given the fact that the U.S. Is a superpower in the world, already has significant influence. The church has shied away from that in the past, but who knows? There could be a surprise awaiting the world here today. The surprise could come in the form of a pope that comes from elsewhere in the world, one of the corners of the world that Pope Francis was so determined, Lindsay, to bring into the church.
And what will be so fascinating, because as you talk about, he had appointed more cardinals to the College of Cardinals outside of Europe than any of his predecessors. But what will be interesting to see, as we've been banding about, really, the name that they will choose. And just a little tidbit for the cocktail party. The first pope to change his name was John II back in 533, and that was because his birth name was Mercury. That was considered to be inappropriate for him to be named Mercury as pope because it's the name of a pagan god. And just some fun facts there. John has been the most popular name, chosen 23 times, Gregory 16 times, Benedict 16 times. The only name that we will not hear called today is Peter, because that is basically an unwritten rule that the one pope that Jesus chose himself will not actually be carried on in a subsequent pope.
So no Peter, but perhaps one of the other names that you mentioned, perhaps will surprise us and go their own way like Pope Francis did. As you look at the live pictures of not only the band marching, the Swiss Guard, you also see the balcony there. The eyes of the world on that balcony, where we will hear not only, as Father Walk pointed out, the first name, the last name, but the chosen name of the cardinal inside the Sistine Chapel, who is now the Pope of the Catholic Church. You know, the moment they accept, I mentioned that question earlier, do you accept your election to Supreme Pontiff? The moment they say yes, they are the Pope of the Catholic Church. So it's a relatively small window of about an hour's time that they have privacy from the rest of the world in a role larger than life, if you will. We will get to know who they are in just moments. You can hear the band performing. The new Pope, as I mentioned before in this interim, goes to the room of tears where the white papal vestments await, multiple sizes at the ready, the shoes, and again, we mentioned Pope Francis, Pope John Paul II, didn't go with some of the shoes that had been presented, chose simple black leather shoes that they wore throughout their papacy. The Carmelengo places the ring of the
coverage
fourth
from
finger
ABC News.
of the
They're at the
Pope's right
Vatican
hand.
right now, and ABC News, along with us here at KSL News Radio, and the more than 1 billion Catholics around the world awaiting the announcement of who the new Pope will be. We expect him to emerge on the Vatican balcony any moment, Dave.
We will come back the moment that happens. We're going to step away just for a few minutes, but as soon as the new Pope emerges from the Vatican balcony, we'll take you right there.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not?
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Join KSL News Radio's Amanda Dixon this Friday from 3 to 5 at the Salt Lake NPS store at 1600 Empire Road, npsstore.com.
Did you hear? A recent stash of $10 gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s. And less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-917-4635 and you are guaranteed a $10 gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-917-4635. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-917-4635 now to secure your $10 gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-917-4635.
It was about 35 minutes ago that we got word that white smoke was billowing from the chimney at the Sistine Chapel. So we know a new pope has been selected. We just don't know who it is yet, and that's what we're anxiously awaiting to find out.
ABC News has been covering this live from the Vatican. We'll turn to them right now as we wait for the new pope to emerge from the Vatican balcony.
The name of the new pope. After that, Cardinal Mamberti goes back inside St. Peter's. The balcony will be prepped for the new pope's appearance. Then the new pope appears on the balcony sometime after that announcement, greets the crowd, and delivers the apostolic blessing, really to the city and to the world watching this moment. Father Walk, it's really impossible for any of us to understand what it must feel like for the new pope to walk down the Hall of Blessings, to think about it in terms of how they will address the faithful and really the world for the first time, and what's most appropriate for the message they want to send.
Yeah, one of the traditions the popes have observed is when they come out of the Sistine Chapel, before going to the balcony where they're going to give the blessing from St. Peter's facade, they stop in the Pauline Chapel where the cardinals gathered before the conclave, and in that chapel he's going to be facing the fresco by Michelangelo of the crucifixion of the first pope, of Peter being crucified upside down. You think that's the first thing that he sees as he's about to face the world, the first pope giving his life in fidelity to Jesus Christ. And it's a reminder that the Good Shepherd, right? Christ is the Good Shepherd, and he lays down his life for his sheep. And that's what the Pope is being called to do, is being called to give his life entirely to the people he's about to be introduced to and discover, as I was saying earlier, as his children. He's about to see, all of a sudden, I am the father of this massive crowd in the square of people from all over the world.
It's been about 39 minutes now, Father Walk, since we saw that white smoke and the ringing of the bells. We know from recent conclaves it's about an hour, a little more than an hour sometimes. They could surprise us by coming to us a little earlier with the new pope. But Father Walk, I'm curious what you think, and I know it's very hard to speculate, but what you think about this coming after the fourth ballot. You know, there was so much talk about 133 cardinals, more than we have seen in modern times, that they come from all over the world, that many had not met each other, didn't know each other very well. There was some who believed that meant we could be here for a little while longer. But instead, what we've witnessed here is quite similar to what we saw with Pope Benedict and then with Pope Francis on the fourth and fifth ballots, having a decision so soon.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising, but I think we're gonna hear different hypotheses about how it turned out this way. But it may, in fact, be that the very fact that there were people who were from so many different places, 133 cardinals who didn't necessarily know each other, actually ended up limiting the choices, right? And so that they actually had to focus on a fairly small number of possible candidates, and that may have made it, in a way, easier, because by limiting the possibilities to a select few that were better known, it made it easier for them to choose a pope in a relatively short period of time.
I know there are a lot of people trying to figure out what the timing means, Father Walk. Does it mean they continue down a path that Pope Francis began? Does it mean they tried to find someone who's a centrist who can reach out in a very human way like Pope Francis did, but also be somewhat safer for the traditionalists, the more conservative wing of the Catholic Church? You want to weigh in on what the timing of this might signal?
I don't think that the timing is going to tell us the answer to those questions. And I think in terms of the route that the Pope will take, it's going to be hard to know immediately, because the different areas of the church, I mean, the different parts of geographically, parts of the church, see those questions in different ways. What it means in Africa, what it means in Asia, what it means in Latin America and Europe and North America is not necessarily the same. And so to see it in terms of sort of right or left or progressive or conservative, it's going to be a little more complicated, I think. We have our sort of American or Western European ways of reading that, but the cardinals who elected the Pope may not see things quite in those terms.
I think you're absolutely right. It's far more nuanced than conservative or more progressive. And you talk about the geography involved, the new cardinals who were brought into the church by Pope Francis. We know that about 80% of the cardinals who were voting in the Sistine Chapel were actually chosen by Pope Francis. And of course, for those of you following our reporting the last few days, you heard us say this a number of times. You can only vote as a cardinal if you're under 80. In fact, one of the cardinals in the room, it's his 80th birthday next week. So we got into that very influential moment just in time before those doors closed, if you will, to play a significant role. Each one of those 133 cardinals playing a very important role at this turning point for the Catholic Church. Of course, one of them is now the Pope. One of the interesting things is you have to get a 2/3 majority, which means 89 votes inside the chapel. It can't be unanimous, because if it was a unanimous vote, if everyone chose the same person, that would mean one of the cardinals voted for themselves, which is not allowed, Father Martin, is it?
Not allowed, and also bad form, and also against humility. I think that they're very aware of the need for secrecy, following rules. This is an ancient tradition that has been laid down for generations, sort of revised a little bit by John Paul and by Benedict and Francis, but these cardinals are deeply aware of the solemnity and the gravity of this decision.
Now, as I understand it, Father Martin, the tallies of each one of these votes, and again, this could have been the fourth vote or the fifth vote. We believe it was the fourth, just giving the timing. We know there were 2 votes planned for this afternoon. Whether or not they needed both of them or not, we're going to find out here in the ensuing hours. It's our belief that it was just the fourth vote. But obviously, you had 3 cardinals in the front of that room who were chosen with each vote, and it's their job to read the ballots. They pass the ballot to the cardinal next to them, who then confirms the name, and then passes the cardinal next to them, who then reads the name aloud to the Sistine Chapel. The fellow cardinals then hear who has received a vote. It's then attached to a thread. All of the paper ballots are put on a single thread, and at the end of these voting sessions, they're then burned in the stove in the Sistine Chapel. So there's no actual record. The ballots aren't saved. The only record is the tally that they keep track of. In the separate stove is where they use the chemicals now, just to make sure that that smoke is clearly white or clearly black. And I have to say, we appreciate them for doing that today, because it can be nerve-wracking when you come on the air. In the beginning of the black smoke, it looks a little gray and you're just a little uncertain, but there was really no uncertainty with the white smoke that emerged just about 40 minutes or so now ago here at Vatican City. But Father Martin, it's my understanding that with each one of these votes, the numeric tally, which they keep a record of, is then sealed and handed to the new Pope. And it's up to the new Pope whether or not we learn what the numbers were in the coming months or years.
That's right. Sometimes the numbers have come out, cardinals, or some people find out about it. But in the oath that they took just recently that we heard, they promised to keep it safe and keep it secure, as you said, David, unless the new Pope allows them to reveal it.
St. Peter holding the key there to the papacy, obviously extraordinarily symbolic in this moment. We'll have to wait and see how secretive these cardinals are. Just to get back to your point, Father Martin, because we did learn over time. And in fact, Pope Francis described the moment as he said things were starting to go a dangerous way, meaning his way. We do know that in 2013, when Pope Francis was elected, he had done well in the previous conclave with Pope Benedict, who was eventually named, but Pope Francis did very well in that conclave as far as the number of votes. But when he returned all those years later, he was older. He didn't think that, he thought his opportunity, his time, his moment had passed. He brought his suitcase and he had in his bag his return ticket, did he not?
That's right. And in 2005, earlier, the conclave that elected Pope Benedict, Pope Francis, or Jorge Mario Bergoglio, came in second, and he felt that he was being used by people to block Cardinal Ratzinger's move to becoming Pope. And so he asked his people, the people who were supporting him, to not support him any longer. But you're right, David. In 2013, he was seen, I think, widely as just too old.
But he wasn't, and he was in the papacy for a good number of years and had a tremendous influence, certainly with the cardinals that he appointed, and addressing many of the issues that do face the church, from finances to LGBTQ to the role of women in the church, the sex abuse scandal, which is not something unique to the United States. It's obviously an issue that they have had to deal with throughout the world. I want to bring in Liz Nagy of WLS. We mentioned she was with our coverage here earlier in the crowd, fighting the communication and the crush of media here, and hopefully we can hear you this time. Liz, what are folks telling you?
David, people are just absolutely thrilled to be here. There's frankly very little room left to move around in St. Peter's Square because there are tens of thousands of people who have rushed in over the last 45 minutes or so to see that Pope emerge on the balcony. And I'm struck that the diversity in this crowd out here really reflects the diversity of the College of Cardinals that was sitting in the Sistine Chapel. There's a person I'm not sure you can see propped up on a fence over there with a Brazilian flag wrapped around their shoulders. We've seen people walking around with Filipino flags, people chanting the names of their countries, but also you can see people greeting complete strangers. This is really a moment of celebration, not just for Catholics of the world, but for people who are here in Rome. I'm also struck by the number of young people who are here. We've spoken to a lot of students this week who've been studying abroad in Rome and just happen to be lucky enough to be here during this experience. Some who say they've been moved to get more in touch with their spirituality because of all of this. There are children propped on the shoulders of their parents, and everybody's doing sort of exactly what we're doing right now, staring into the sun, trying to crane their neck and see who is going to emerge on the balcony. And because of the time of day and the westward-facing direction of St. Peter's Square, it's a little difficult, but nevertheless, people are thrilled to see who will come out there. There was one priest who just walked by a few minutes ago. I said, do you know who is going to step out on that balcony? And he said, of course, the Pope. So for Catholics who we've spoken to this week, they say it really doesn't matter who that person is. The Catholic Church is universal, and this will be their leader. David?
I love the answer to that question from you. Of course, the Pope, Liz Nagy of WLS in Chicago, also joining our team here on the ground. Our thanks to you, Liz. Again, you see the cameras trained on that balcony. The Hall of Blessings, the Pope will be led down that hall. He will be introduced, first name, last name, and then his chosen name as the Pope, as the leader of the Catholic Church. He'll then emerge. He'll greet the crowd, and much will be made of how he chooses to greet the crowd, the words he chooses, and then, of course, his message to the crowd thereafter. James Longman is right down in St. Peter's Square. And James, you heard Terry and me. We were talking about the Room of Tears where the cassocks are hanging. I would gather, given the amount of time that has gone by, the cassock has now been chosen. and the Pope has begun his duties. But you actually talked with the family, the long-standing family, a rich tradition of preparing for that moment.
Yeah, Ranieri Mancinelli was a charming man, a tailor who actually, both Terry and I met him, but I had the fortune of going to his tailor to see the 3 actual cassocks that were going to get delivered to the Vatican the very next day. The white cassock, the traditional vestments of the Pope. They have the 33 buttons down the front to signal every year that Christ lived. He told me that he's made 3 sizes for width, but not for height, because he doesn't want to go to all the lengths of making 3 separate cassocks, because he's going to have to make a specific one for the specific man. But it was incredibly charming to meet him. I mean, what an extraordinary man doing something so special. And he said to me that he's made a slight tweak to each of them, each of the 3 sizes, so that when the Pope, who we don't know yet, comes out on that balcony, he will alone, outside of the Vatican, know which of those 3 sizes this man has chosen, which I rather liked. But we understand that the Mancinelli tailor was a place that Francis found whilst out and about before he became Pope Francis, when then Cardinal Bergoglio was out and about. It's actually sandwiched between an ice cream shop and a pizza restaurant. And he bought his very simple silver cross from there. And so when he became Pope, he decided, well, I might as well have my vestments made from there too. So the Mancinellis have now taken on this extraordinary duty of dressing the Pope. But yes, this as yet unknown man is now dressing into one of these 3 cassocks to take on one of the most important offices in the world.
The Mancinellis, the most famous and important fashion house in Italy at this moment. You don't say that very often, right, given all the other names out there in the commercial world. But James, that's extraordinary in detail. So there is something about each of the cassocks that's actually different that only the tailor will know? Or did you ask what we should be looking for to know the difference here?
He wouldn't tell us. I mean, presumably it's not going to be very, very obvious, because that would be sacrilege, I assume. But yes, some tweak, perhaps to the fold on the shoulder, perhaps somewhere on the neckline, something a tailor may only know. Those of us lay people might not actually
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
You know, Lindsay, we were down in the square, and I was talking with a group of sisters from the United States, really from Ohio to Texas, New York to Michigan. They lead their congregations, and they had this trip planned long before the conclave, and they told me that they're hoping that no matter what the decision is, and again, as Father Walk so aptly put earlier, there are a number of different issues and many different ways to tackle them. It can't be just one category or the other. But they did say to me, they said, we hope the Cardinals in the Sistine Chapel recognize the human touch of Pope Francis, the way he was able to connect even beyond the Catholic Church.
He was so beloved. Of course, people called him the People's Pope. But the saying, David, goes, a fat pope follows a thin one. And the idea here is that often, whenever there's a new opportunity to elect a new pope, that it's a referendum basically on the previous papacy. And I think that that's what many people are so curious, if not anxious, to determine today. Are these cardinals going to select continuity or change? Really, and I mentioned earlier how globally religion is declining, but in particular in the Catholic Church, if you look at Europe, they lost about 1.5 million Catholics just between 2013 and 2022. Africa, on the other hand, it's the fastest growing region for Catholics. At least 20% of Catholics reside on that continent. And this is an opportunity really to change the face, a very unique opportunity that only comes along every 12 or so years.
And in addition, Lindsay, to trying to grow the church, Father Martin, we find ourselves in an historical moment when you look around the world, when you see in terms of global conflict, in terms of the deep political polarization, not just back in the United States where there's a deep political divide, but in so many countries across the world and parts of Europe that we're witnessing right now as well. And in addition to trying to grow the church, which Pope Francis tried to do, he also was successful somewhat in reaching out as a global leader, whether he wanted to or not, even beyond the Catholic Church, when it came to certain issues that political leaders, were not as successful in doing.
Well, I think that's right, particularly on issues of the poor, climate change, his famous encyclical Laudato Si, migrants and refugees. I think one of the things to keep in mind, though, as we're talking about the new pope, is he may be a very different kind of pope than he was as a cardinal, right? I was just speaking to a church historian who said John the 23rd was seen as a transitional pope. He called the Second Vatican Council. By some, John Paul II was supposed to be a certain kind of pope and was a different kind of pope than people expected. There really is a sense that the man who was a cardinal now has a different role, and he has to, as you say, sort of be an actor on the world stage and really be the father that John Walk was talking about. So I think if the man comes out and people think, oh, he's not my candidate, I would say we need to see what kind of pope he is, not simply what kind of cardinal he was.
And not to look at it in political terms or in categorical terms, because as you say, the moment they become pope, you would think that each one of these cardinals recognizes that the role is much larger and that the faithful around the world are counting on them to be heard.
Oh, sure. And, you know, for example, if he's from a particular archdiocese or diocese, he's focused on that archdiocese or diocese. Now he's focused on the whole world. And he knows that he has to be a father to everyone. And I think this, once again, we say the grace of office is something that they trust. So we also need to give the man, at least a couple of months to see what kind of pope he wants to be.
Father John Walk, for our viewers back in the United States watching, we're now more than 50 minutes past the white smoke, the ringing of the bells, where our cameras are trained on that balcony. What do you suppose is playing out inside St. Peter's right now?
I imagine that the cardinals are gathering together and making their way towards the facade. I think in the past what has happened, as I recall, has been the windows that are to the side of the loggia where the Pope will appear. Sometimes those windows open first, and cardinals come out also on those balconies before. So you have a sense of sort of growing anticipation, even before the Habemus Papam moment, where we hear the names, as we were saying earlier. There's a sense of activity going on on that floor of the basilica, which is actually parallel. I mean, it's at the same level as the Sistine Chapel. They're making their way over from the Sistine Chapel into the upper level of St. Peter's Basilica, and they start filling out in the windows.
There are so many of these crucial moments along the way with this conclave that is now wrapped up. You know, you have extra omnes, which is the final order inside the Sistine Chapel, that everyone who is not an elector, a cardinal who would be voting, that they would leave. We watched those images play out 24 hours ago, people leaving the Sistine Chapel, the doors then closing, echoing across the Vatican, if you will, when those doors close, Swiss guards standing outside. And Father Walk, you bring up Habemus Papam, which the whole world knows means we have a pope.
Exactly. And of course, for him, as I said earlier, he has children, and it's got to be an enormous shock for whoever is the new pope to walk out onto that balcony and look at the crowd and have that feeling they're here for me. People that perhaps didn't know who he was this morning. And all of a sudden he's in this completely new and transformative relationship with so many people, not just in the square, but all over the world.
Father Walk with us here today, Father John Walk, an ABC News contributor. And Father Walk, we appreciate your insight, helping to guide us through what's playing out. Father Martin, you know the cardinals, many of them who were in that room voting. I just have to get inside your mind if I can. Are you wondering if it's going to be someone you know well who is now the new pope?
Oh, sure I am. I think it would be interesting. It's not about me, of course, but I do know a lot of the cardinals. And I think one of the things that I really respect about them is that all of them will tell you this is the most important thing that they do. Right? So some of them are bishops, and some of them are archbishops of big archdioceses. That's certainly important. But this is kind of an awesome responsibility. And I asked one the other day, I said, well, how do you feel? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Are you worried? And he just was kind of speechless. And he said it's very hard to describe. So this is something they take very seriously. In a sense, once they're made cardinals, they start thinking about it. You know, who will I elect? And I also think there's a sense of gratitude and relief. And also, David, you know, this is their boss now. And so they're sort of reconfiguring their relationship to this person who was a peer just a few hours ago.
I'll ask you the same question I asked Father Walk. Do you think the relative shortness to this process signals anything that we got here on the fourth vote like we did with Benedict and Pope Francis?
Well, we'll find out soon enough, but I think Father Walk is right in terms of the fact that since there were so many people from so many far-flung countries who may not have known one another, thanks to Pope Francis's desire to sort of diversify geographically, they may have focused on certain candidates, so maybe 3 or 4 candidates, which would have made for a shorter conclave.
It is an enormous responsibility, isn't it, for all the cardinals inside that room to not only choose someone they believe in, but that they believe is the right person at this moment for the Catholic Church.
Well, that's right, and it's not 2013, it's 2025. And also, David, I think there's a sense of we are choosing someone, we are electing someone, we are recognizing someone that the Holy Spirit seems to be pointing out to us, but we are also giving this man a tremendous burden, right? So there's a kind of sense of gravity and almost pity on the person, right, that they're giving this burden to, because no one, let's face it, no one has a job like the Pope.
For those of you watching from back in the United States and joining us from all over the world, it is now 7:09 here at the Vatican. Shortly after 1 p.m. in the East, you're watching ABC News live coverage of the conclave, the next Pope about to be presented to the world at any moment. Of course, that's the famous balcony here at St. Peter's Basilica. The new Pope will be brought down the Hall of Blessings there behind that window you're looking at, that doorway. He will be announced first with his first name, his last name, and then his chosen name as Pope. We know that shortly after they reached that 2/3 majority inside the Sistine Chapel, which in this case meant 89 votes, and certainly this Pope likely got even more than that, that they are then asked, do you accept the results of this election to be the supreme pontiff? When they say yes, the second question, equally as important, is how do you want to be called? What is your chosen name as Pope? We do know about an hour has gone by. We are expecting to meet the Pope for the first time at any moment. That's why our camera is staying right there. You will not miss it. We know the Pope has already been brought into the Room of Tears, as it's called, and it's called that because it allows the Pope, the new Pope, to have a moment of reflection, to perhaps sort of be quiet in a moment of prayer about the new role they will take on, and perhaps shed a tear, understanding the weight of this moment. And as Father Martin put so aptly, it's not 2013, it's 2025, and each one of these conclaves is about naming the leader at this moment who can best take the Catholic Church in the direction it needs to go, to not only reach the faithful, but to grow the Church. That's their goal. And of course, tackle some of the very difficult issues that each one of these popes tries to tackle in their own way. You know, I think back to Pope John Paul II. You know, I grew up as Pope John Paul II was a leader on the world stage. And Father Martin, he was a bit of a surprise when he emerged on that balcony, and we could be surprised here today.
He was, and in fact, when he was announced, many people didn't know how to pronounce his name. They didn't know where he was from. But amazingly, this Pope that was such a surprise was on the world stage for so long and changed the Church in so many different ways. We could be totally surprised. My sense is that it is probably one of the top 10 or 12 candidates that we have been talking about, that everyone's been talking about. But again, who knows who the Holy Spirit has sort of directed these men to vote for.
And Terry Moran, Pope John Paul II, as we know, when we learned of him on that balcony, and of course, you and I were a little young, not yet reporters, but perhaps dreaming of being one, that so many people butchered his name, didn't know where he was from, but he was a pope for a long time, because as far as these conclaves go, he was very young.
He was very young. He was 58 when he was elected pope, and he was there for decades, and a global figure. A figure of historic proportions. He grasped this office, this ancient office, with such power, so much of it, however, almost in the spirit rather than in actual temporal power, and he used it.
Terry, let's take a pause and watch the balcony.
It appears as you hear the cheering from the Vatican from St. Peter's Square that the new Pope is about to come out onto the balcony.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. Habemus papam. Eminentissimum, ac reverendissimum Dominum, Dominum Robertum Franciscum, Sancte Romane Ecclesiae, Cardinalem Prevost, qui sibi nomen imposuit Leonem decimum quartum.
Again, we have just heard that Robert Francis Prevost of the United States, 69 years old, born in Chicago, has been named the next Pope. There you see a picture of him on the left-hand side of your screen. There had been so much talk about whether or not there was a slim possibility that there would be an American Pope, one from the United States. He went to college at Villanova, studied mathematics. Italian media has referred to him as the least American of the Americans because of his quiet, humble way. He had years of missionary experience in Peru, strong connections in Latin America and with bishops. And through the years, he said very little about the church's divisive subjects, same-sex blessings, a female ordination, helping him to maintain a broad appeal before we hear from him. And the name he has chosen is Leo XIV. Again, Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost of the United States, making history, the first Pope ever chosen from the U.S., and he will be called Pope Leo XIV. Let's listen. Of course, the world waiting to hear from the next Pope, Robert Francis Prevost, of course, the Cardinal from Chicago, originally born there, 69 years old. For the past 2 years, he served as the head of the Vatican's powerful group of bishops. He was, in fact, responsible for advising Pope Francis on picking the new bishops around the world. He's held many leadership positions within the Catholic Church, religious superior, bishop. He has shown his capacity to govern, and he has certainly shown his ability to be a diplomat within the Church. Pope Francis relying on him heavily through the years. You can see the tens of thousands who've gathered here in St. Peter's Square. Obviously, we don't want to talk over the moment, but let's just watch the screen here. And Father Martin, what do you know about Cardinal Prevost?
He's a wonderful person. I got to know him at the Synod. He's very down to earth. He's kind. He's very humble and very soft-spoken. One of the interesting things is that he was prior general of the Augustinian order. People would know that mainly in the United States from Villanova. Being prior general means that you are someone whom the entire order looks up to, and it's an awesome responsibility. He was interestingly seen as, in a sense, the least American of the Americans because of his time in the diocese in Peru. But I came to know him. He was at my table at the Synod for 2 weeks. He's very soft-spoken.
That was last fall.
That was last fall. He's a very soft-spoken, but I would say firm person. He was confident in his decisions and easy to talk to, and it's quite a surprise.
We know that Leo had been chosen 13 times before, which is why he's Pope Leo the 14th. And what can we read into the name, Father?
Leo the 13th was one of the founders of the Catholic social justice tradition. So Catholic social teaching really began with Leo the 13th's encyclical Rerum Novarum, which was on many things, including the rights of workers. So it's a nod, I think, and we can hear it from the new Pope, to this tradition of Catholic social teaching.
The rights of workers around the world. The eyes of the world now trained on the balcony here at St. Peter's Basilica, and we have watched an extraordinary piece of history unfold here today. The first Pope chosen from the United States, Robert Francis Prevost. Cardinal Prevost, originally from Chicago, born there in 1955. Relatively young for these conclaves, 69 years old, which means, Lindsay, he could have this role as leader of the entire Catholic Church, 1.4 billion Catholics for some time to come.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown, David. But we've talked about how in thousands of years we've never had a pope from America. First time you're ever having a cardinal who is a Cubs fan. Leo is actually the 5th most popular name chosen by popes. But certainly he is considered similar to Pope Francis on church issues. He's known to have kept his cards very close to the vest, described as being more pragmatic, cautious, and discreet than Pope Francis. But it makes sense because he has been the point person with so many of these bishops worldwide that he already had a number of touch points then going into this conclave. He's also described as having a heart of a missionary and years of ministerial experience, with, of course, is very important. There were a number of people who were considered to be front runners and on the short list, but they didn't necessarily have that pastoral experience.
And not only that, among those who were on the short list, and he was on this list, a lot of people thought because he's from the United States, because we haven't seen that before, and because the United States has such a large role in the world stage already as one of the world's superpowers, would the cardinals inside the Sistine Chapel decide to make history by choosing a cardinal from the United States anyway? And that is exactly what they have done here today. Francis actually brought Cardinal Prevost to the Vatican in 2023 to serve as the powerful head of the office that actually vets the bishop nominations from around the world. As we know, that's one of the most important jobs within the Catholic Church. You'd have to gather that because of that, Prevost had some prominence going into the conclave, that he was part of choosing the bishops. He interacted with them, obviously. Father Martin, you said just this last fall you were with him as part of the major conference here. So they knew him. This was one of the leaders as they went into the Sistine Chapel and those doors closed. He was one of the faces, one of the leaders they had a sense of.
They did. And let me say that one of the things I heard around Rome, and it is true, you really can find, and I think this is fair, there's no one who has a bad thing to say about him. He's a good administrator. He's kind. He's humble. He's very pragmatic. And I also think that, we were talking earlier, Father Walk was talking about how these bishops from far-flung places would need to know this person. And the head of the dicastery for bishops, as you said, is responsible for basically advising Pope Francis who should be the next bishop in a particular diocese. That's a hugely important job, right? It's hugely influential. He would know the new bishops, and people would know him as well.
We're seeing a little bit of movement on the balcony. it would be impossible to overstate what this must be like for Pope Leo XIV from the United States. Let's listen.
La pace sia con tutti voi. Fratelli, sorelle carissimi, questo è il primo saluto del Cristo risorto, il buon pastore che ha dato la vita per il gregge di Dio. Anch'io vorrei che questo saluto di pace entrasse nel vostro cuore, raggiungesse le vostre famiglie, a tutte le persone, ovunque siano,
Greetings,
a
brothers
tutti
and
i popoli,
sisters.
a tutta la terra.
This is the
La
first
pace
greeting
sia con voi.
of the risen Christ. May the peace be with you.
Questa è la pace di Cristo risorto, una
This is
pace
the peace
disarmata
of
e
the
una
risen
pace
Christ.
disarmante, umile e perseverante.
A peace
Proviene da Dio,
that is humble
Dio che ci
and
ama
perseverant
tutti,
for all.
incondizionalmente. Ancora conserviamo nei nostri orecchi quella voce debole ma sempre coraggiosa di Papa Francesco che benediva Roma.
Of course, we preserve our prayers for Pope Francis,
Il Papa che benediva Roma dava la sua benedizione al mondo intero, quella mattina del giorno di Pasqua.
who passed away on the morning
a
of Easter,
quella stessa
after Easter.
benedizione. Dio ci vuole bene, Dio vi ama tutti e il
Dio
male non
wants
prevarrà.
what's good for
Siamo
you.
tutti
He loves
nelle
you
mani di
all,
Dio.
and we remain all in God,
Senza paura,
without
uniti,
fear,
mano nella mano con Dio e
hand in
tra
hand
noi.
with God.
Andiamo avanti.
We go forward.
Siamo discepoli di Cristo.
We are disciples of
Cristo
Christ.
ci precede. Il mondo ha bisogno della sua
Christ
luce.
goes before us.
L'umanità necessita di Lui come il ponte per essere raggiunta da Dio e dal suo amore. Aiutateci anche voi, poi gli uni gli
Help
altri,
yourselves
a costruire
and help
ponti
one another
con il dialogo,
for
con
building
l'incontro,
bridges
unendoci tutti
and for
per
a
essere
dialogue,
un solo popolo, sempre in pace.
for being a
Grazie a
people
Papa Francesco.
always in peace. Thank you to Pope Francis.
Voglio ringraziare anche tutti i confratelli cardinali che hanno scelto me per essere successore di Pietro e camminare insieme a voi come Chiesa unita, cercando sempre la pace, la giustizia.
And I want to
cercando
thank
sempre
all
lavorare come uomini
the fellow
e
cardinals
donne
who
fedeli a
chose
Gesù
me to be the
Cristo,
successor of
senza
Peter
paura, per
in a united
proclamare
church,
il Vangelo, per essere missionari.
and for pronouncing the Evangelium, and for being
Sono
successors
un figlio
of
di
Christ
Sant'Agostino,
in peace.
agostiniano, che ha detto: con voi
Saint
sono cristiano
Augustine.
e per voi vescovo. In questo senso possiamo tutti camminare insieme verso quella patria la quale Dio ci ha preparato.
We walk together, as St. Augustine said,
Alla
towards
Chiesa
Christ, that God, on
di
the path that
Roma,
God
un
prepared.
saluto speciale.
A special greeting.
Dobbiamo cercare insieme come essere una Chiesa missionaria, una Chiesa che costruisce i ponti, il dialogo, sempre aperta a ricevere, come questa piazza con le braccia aperte, a tutti coloro che hanno bisogno della nostra carità, la nostra presenza, il dialogo, l'amore.
We have to be a church that works together to build bridges and to keep our arms open, like this very piazza, welcoming.
A todos aquellos, y en modo particular a mi querida diócesis de Chiclayo en el Perú.
He says, a special greeting to the people of Peru.
Ha acompañado a su obispo, ha compartido su fe y ha dado tanto para seguir siendo iglesia fiel de Jesucristo.
Who have been so faithful in their following of the Church
di
of
Roma,
Christ.
d'Italia, di tutto il mondo. Vogliamo essere una chiesa
Brothers
sinodale,
and
una
sisters of
chiesa
Italy,
che cammina, una chiesa che cerca sempre la pace, cerca
who form
sempre la
a
carità,
church
cerca sempre di essere
that
vicino,
searches for
a coloro che
peace
soffrono.
and to help those who are in need. Today,
il giorno della supplica alla Madonna di Pompei.
the day of the supplication of the Madonna of Pompeii.
Sempre camminare con noi, stare vicini.
Mary, our Mary, always wants to walk with us, to help us,
Allora vorrei pregare
to give us
insieme a
love.
voi. Preghiamo insieme
Let us pray
per questa
together
nuova missione,
for this
per
new mission,
tutta la Chiesa, per la pace
for
nel mondo.
the whole
E
church
chiediamo questa
and
grazia
peace
speciale
on earth,
di Maria,
and the special grace of Mary,
Ave
our
Maria,
Mother.
piena di grazia,
Hail
il
Mary,
Signore è con
full
te.
of grace,
Tu sei
the
benedetta fra
Lord
le
is with
donne,
you.
e benedetto
Blessed
il
art
frutto del tuo
thou
seno,
among
Gesù.
women,
Santa
and
Maria,
blessed is the
Madre
fruit
di Dio,
of thy
prega per
womb,
noi
Jesus.
peccatori, adesso
Holy
e
Mary,
nell'ora della
Mother of
nostra
God,
morte.
pray for us
Amen.
sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Il Santo Padre Leone, a tutti i fedeli presenti e a quelli che ricevono la sua benedizione a mezzo della radio, della televisione e delle altre tecnologie di comunicazione, concede l'indulgenza plenaria nella forma stabilita dalla Chiesa. Preghiamo Dio Onnipotente perché conservi a lungo il Papa a guida della Chiesa e conceda pace e unità alla Chiesa in tutto il mondo.
For all those, both here and listening throughout the world, and receiving this blessing from the Pope, Leo XIV, let us hear
Sancti
his prayer.
Apostoli Petrus et Paulus, de quorum potestates auctoritate confidimus, ipsi intercedant pro nobis ad Dominum. Amen. Precibus et
Saint
meritis Beate
Peter and
Mariae
Paul,
semper Virginis,
let them
Beati
intercede
Michaelis
on our
Archangelis,
behalf.
Beate Ioannis
We pray to them.
Baptiste, et Sanctorum Apostolorum Petri et Pauli et omnium Sanctorum, misereatur vestri omnipotens Deus, et dimissis omnibus peccatis vestris, perducat vos Iesus Christus ad vitam aeternam.
For St. Peter and Paul,
Indulgentiam, absolutionem,
who
et remissionem omnium
have mercy
peccatorum
on
vestrorum,
us and all the other
spatium
saints
vere
as well,
et
on us.
fructuose penitentiae,
And
for
Jesus
semper
Christ,
penitens,
may he lead
et
us
emendationem vitae,
in peace.
gratiam et consolationem Sancti Spiritus, et finalem perseverantiam in bonis operibus tribuat vobis omnipotens et misericors Dominus. Amen. Et benedictio Dei omnipotent, Patris et Filii et Spiritus
And may
Sancti descendat super vos
the
et maniat
benediction
semper.
of the all-powerful Lord bless you and be with you always.
You see the American flag there in the crowd. Americans, of course, among the faithful, holding up various American flags across St. Peter's Square as the world studies the face of Pope Leo XIV on that balcony. He opened by saying, "Peace be with you," addressing his brothers and sisters here in St. Peter's Square and around the world. He said, "We preserve our prayers for Pope Francis," and he went on to say, "God loves everyone." He talked about building bridges. He talked about helping those in need. The choice of the name Leo, obviously extremely significant. We knew that going in, that however the new pope presented themselves to the world, in particular the name they would choose would be the first signal here. Leo is the name of one of the consensus best popes in church history, Leo, better known as Leo the Great. And the most recent pope of that name served in the early 1900s. And he was best remembered in 1891 for laying out the foundation of modern Catholic social teaching, which pushed for social justice for workers, laborers around the world. Father Martin, I know that you know Pope Leo XIV. You knew him as Cardinal Prevost from Chicago, and you sat across from him just last fall for a couple of weeks at the Synod, right?
I did. I'm a little stupefied right now. I met him first in the company of another Jesuit. We were walking right around Vatican City, and my friend said, "Oh, look, there's Cardinal Prevost," and walked up to him and had a little conversation, very down to earth, very forthright. And then I sat next to him for across the table from him.
The first American
for 2 weeks
Pope,
at the Synod.
Leo
Just a very
XIV,
kind person, very straightforward.
addressing the world and addressing those at the Vatican right now. American flags waving. This is a historic moment, of course. As he takes over, leading the more than 1 billion Catholics around the world. Of course, the Cathedral of the Madeleine is certainly feeling the vibe from the Vatican, and they're holding a news conference there right now. We want to take you there live. This is Bishop Oscar Solis addressing this historic
moment. In the name of the people of God in the Diocese of Salt Lake City, I humbly pledge my faithful obedience and loyalty to our new vicar of the church as he leads the church. I ask the people of God, of the local church of the Diocese of Salt Lake City, together with all our brothers and sisters in this state who join us in our prayers for our new Pope, as you extended the prayers during our time of sadness and the death of Pope Francis. With joy and gratitude, I also asked all of us to pray for our Pope Leo XIV, as he leads faithfully and guides humbly the Church into this new age of technological acceleration with the mind of Christ, to bravely cast out into the deep, to bring the hope and mercy of God to the poor, the marginalized, and in need with the heart of Christ, and to radically bring the love of God to all people of race, creed, and state of life. I am very sure our Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV, the Supreme Pontiff and new visible Vicar of Christ on earth, the servant of the servants of God, as he uttered his first statement to the world, he will be asking surely our prayers as well. Estoy muy feliz y encantado con la elección del Papa Leo XIV, un hombre de profunda oración y fidelidad de la doctrina y disciplina de la Iglesia. La diócesis de Salt Lake City se regocija junto con la Iglesia Universal por la elección del Papa XIV. Para nosotros como católicos, esta es otra bendición sorpresa de Dios, un momento espiritual impresionante de profunda gratitud y gran alegría para nosotros y para todo el mundo. Esto marca un gran hito, la manifestación de la unidad entre los cardenales para elegir al nuevo sucesor del Pedro. Les doy gracias por su servicio a nuestra Iglesia. Me comprometo humildemente a prestar mi fiel obediencia y lealtad a nuestro nuevo vicario de la Iglesia, mientras dirige la Iglesia. Pido al pueblo de Dios, de la Iglesia local de la Diócesis de Salt Lake City, junto con todos nuestros hermanos y hermanas, a unirse a nosotros en oraciones como se extendió durante nuestro tiempo de la tristeza por la muerte del Papa Francisco. Oremos para nuestro Papa Leo XIV, mientras dirige fielmente y guía humildemente a la Iglesia en esta era de aceleración tecnológica, con mucho amor de Cristo. And so I just want to express my deep gratitude and joy to all of you in solidarity with the election of our new Pope, that we pray together and as his aspiration to bring the peace of Christ to all people in the world, and to work together and to change the world into a kingdom of God's love and peace. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing this special moment of joy and gratitude with the local church of the Diocese of Salt Lake City. And like the Father has extended his blessing to the city of Rome and to the world, I extend his blessing to all the people here in the state of Utah and across the globe. And may God bless us all. Thank you.
Amen. Viva el Papa.
Viva el Papa.
That's Bishop Oscar Solis, who is speaking from the Cathedral of the Madeleine, speaking about his gratitude and excitement and support for the new Pope who's just been elected, Pope Leo XIV.
Our coverage will continue here live right after this.
The main character in every news story is a real person.
I want people who listen to Midday to listen to the show and think it is about them. They're hearing a story that touches them in some way.
The main character in every news story is you.
Whether it is their pocketbook, whether it is their child's safety, people should hear something that is more thought-provoking.
Midday with Maria Chaleos, all new noon to 3 on KSL News Radio.
You know, we all have so many things in our lives that occupy our thoughts and our brain power. You don't want those things to take up space unnecessarily, which is why I like Kinetico water softener, something I never have to think about. Like when Kinetico installed this water softener, the only thing I have to remember is throw a little salt in the bin. That's it. Every couple of months I throw some salt in the bin, and then I get all the benefits of soft water 24/7. It never runs out. And the reason it is 24/7 and so efficient is because it's an all mechanical system. It measures water use precisely. There's no computer, no guesstimating. If the power goes out, you don't have to reset it. There's none of that. It just cycles when it's needed. And then the result is you get that wonderful benefit of the soft water. Utah has some of the hardest water in the entire country, so that is why it's so crucial to get soft water into your home for the long-term health of not only your family but of your home. That's where we've noticed a lot of the benefits. It's just the long-term health of our home. We look at it as an investment. So if you're interested, go ahead and reach out to Northern Utah's authorized Kinetico dealer, Kinetico Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, right now at 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com.
As a global expert in high-performance business growth, a New York Times best-selling author, and one of the world's top 10 motivational speakers, Dan Clark has inspired leaders worldwide. He's dedicated to strengthening Utah's workforce and supporting local businesses. Dan Clark joins us with more.
In my 35-year career, I've delivered over 5,500 speeches in 75 countries, working with Fortune 500 companies, Super Bowl champions, military commands, and the United Nations. But my greatest satisfaction comes from working with Utah businesses like L3 Communications, the Buckner Company, Maverick, IMC, Rio Tinto, Nu Skin, Stein Eriksen Lodge, the Association of General Contractors, Utah Bankers Association, and many more incredible organizations. My expertise is resetting organizational cultures to peak performance, redefining what's possible, igniting resilience, strengthening teamwork, and accelerating growth through change. My three-step strategy teaches every culture is created between the strongest belief, highest expectations, and best behavior the leader lives by, and the worst behavior the leader tolerates. In technology, I emphasize balancing high tech with high touch. AI is a tool, but how, when, and why we use it is a choice. AI replaces tasks, not talent. The most powerful intelligence is not artificial or replaceable.
Dan Clark helps individuals and organizations achieve peak performance through keynote speeches, leadership training, and coaching. Schedule a call to discuss your leadership and sales training needs at danclark.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
If you've got a honey-do list with electrical, plumbing, heating, or air conditioning projects on it, Any Hour Services can help. Call Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. anyhourservices.com.
Well, from the Cathedral of the Madeleine, you heard the words of the bishop addressing the fact that we have a new pope. The white smoke billowing from the chimney at the Sistine Chapel just after 10 o'clock our time here, and we broke in live, and you've heard continuing coverage ever since. And now, for the first time, this is a historical moment, we have an American pope, Pope Leo the 14th.
Born in Chicago, the 267th pope. When he was making that initial address, he spoke in Latin, in Spanish, in Italian. He's fluent in all those languages. He is American. That his English is his first language, though he didn't address the crowd in English. That was interesting.
Kelsey Dallas of the Deseret News. You have been watching this very closely, as have millions and millions of Catholics from around the world, including myself. This is a really historic moment, and I had chills just watching this unfold here from Broadcast House. What was your feeling when they announced that they had chosen an American pope?
It was a shock on top of an already surprising moment, because many Vatican watchers felt like the white smoke came sooner than it was expected. And so first you realize, okay, the cardinal electors were able to come to a decision sooner than many thought they would. And not only did they come to the decision, but they picked the first ever American pope. So there's been a bit of a scramble taking place among Catholics, among religion reporters, on news crews around the world to just sort of figure out what this pick means and who this man is.
It was interesting to hear him described. We heard words such as pragmatic, cautious, discreet, but also kind and humble. As a little bit of an underdog or a surprise pick, possibly. Again, the first American pope ever selected. Are we learning anything more about his service or what his history is?
Yes. So he was born in Chicago, but spent much of his leadership in the church in Peru. He addressed his work in Peru during that brief address at the balcony over St. Peter's Square. That's when he was speaking in Spanish. The way I saw him described was someone who is known for his service to the church worldwide, not just being located within the U.S. church specifically. And for the past 2 years, he's worked at the Vatican closely with Pope Francis. He was serving in a role where you help select new bishops in the church and you help manage the existing bishops. And so the sense is that he was quite close to Pope Francis and will likely lead the church in a similar way, focusing on the least of these, drawing people's attention to those who are suffering, and perhaps putting more energy into that than the doctrinal debates.
Well, Kels, thanks so much for jumping on the line with us. Kelsey Dallas talking to us about this big announcement. You heard it here live that we have a new pope. Pope Leo just addressed the crowd at the Vatican. We'll follow more of Kelsey's coverage at Deseret.com. Good morning, Father. Thank you so much for joining us. Father Martin Diaz, live on the line from the Cathedral of the Madeleine. What's your reaction?
Well, when I saw the white smoke, I started to cry with joy. And he's picked the name Leo the 14th. And Leo the 13th was the one who penned the encyclical Rerum Novarum, which focused on social justice and really set the tone for the early part of the 20th century. So it seems like he's going to move in the same direction that Pope Francis did with those people who are on the periphery of society, especially coming out of his experience in Peru and missionary diocese. I'm quite excited. So I'm just, wow, a new pope.
Father Diaz, I know so much of Pope Leo the 14th service has been around the world, much of it in Peru. Have you ever had the opportunity or cross paths with him?
I never have. No, I have not. I've not known him at all.
Just, if you can, put into words this moment for the world and also for Catholics around the world and for the parishioners at the Cathedral of the Madeleine and across Utah.
I think the best word is joy. That it's the sadness of Pope Francis dying has been overcome with the joy of a new leader, a new pope, and for the church and for the world. The pope is not just for us, not just for Catholics, but for the world. A sign of God's living presence all over the world, in all people, with everyone. And as he said in his message, the welcome and openness to everyone in the world. And to talk that the gospel story of love, that God loves us and that we are to love one another. This is just a time filled with joy and overwhelming in a sense.
Well, I feel like joy is going to fill our churches across the world, certainly across Utah this weekend for Mass on Saturday and Mass on Sunday. And Father Diaz, we so appreciate you being willing to share this special moment with our KSL News Radio listeners and with us as
You're
well.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Blessings.
Thank you so much, Father Diaz. And we will continue this coverage all throughout the day as we learn more about the first American Pope who was just elected 267th Pope in church history, Pope Leo XIV, born in Chicago, served all over the world, largely in Peru. Maria Chaleos, Midday with Maria, next.
If you have a lot to get done and get growing this spring in your yard or garden, let our friends at Replenish Landscape Garden Products help. Tim Hughes here with Greg and Mike. As much as we talk about Replenish, I want everybody to know, Greg, that no matter what part of their landscaping they're changing, and maybe they're looking for something that provides them with no maintenance or low maintenance, you have other materials that can help.
That's all right. We have 4 different natural barks. We have 4 different of the colored wood mulches. We have rock, we have gravel, we have sand, 22 different products here.
You may never have to pull weeds again. Mike, there's a reason why professional landscapers and even school districts and others use your products.
Yeah, it's a great proven material. We get a lot of school districts and municipalities that use it as well, and landscapers.
You're going to find it all right here in Murray at 4660 South 200 West. Call them at 801-262-5142 or go online at replenishcompost.com. Remember, Replenish. It's good stuff.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for.
It's time to spring into summer with Soda Weight Loss, because right now you'll get our biggest discount of the year.
Are you serious?
Just 3 weeks in, and the pounds are dropping off very quickly. I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight without drugs, without hunger, and the weight stays off.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal. I was so proud of myself. My body did exactly what it wanted to do. I just gave it its tools.
Let's spring into summer right now with Soda Weight Loss. If you want to look like this for summer, now is the time to join America's #1 weight loss company for client satisfaction and results.
Remember, this is our best offer of the year, so let's go.
Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
It's Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I've got something important to talk to you about, your 401k. If you have changed jobs, there are 2 very important considerations. You don't want to leave your 401k behind, and you don't want to roll it over into your new company plan without consulting Trajan Wealth first. 401ks will often have limited investments or age-based options. Since companies have to make choices to suit all employees, they may not be suited to you, which could cost you fees and money. When you roll over your 401k into an IRA, you not only keep your money growing tax deferred, but you also gain access to a world of investment options specifically designed for you. Trajan Wealth and our fiduciary advisors have helped thousands, and we can do the same for you. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
On the surface, it seemed like just another Cinderella story.
The team that was predicted to finish dead last is now waiting to play the first round of the playoffs.
But Real Salt Lake's 2021 playoff run was so much more than what happened on the pitch.
Our club is burning to the ground.
This is the tip of the iceberg. Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time is 12 o'clock noon, and this is Midday. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story this hour. A lot of fanfare in Vatican City and around the world today. We have a new pope, and he's American. Robert Francis Prevost is the first American pope in history. The pope is 69 years old and was born in Chicago. He chose the name Leo XIV. In his speech, Pope Leo spoke about peace and walking with Christ. Now that the white smoke is cleared and we now know the name of the new pope, Utah's local bishops say that they are excited about the choice. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is live at the Cathedral of the Madeleine in Salt Lake City with more on their reaction. Eric?
Maria, a wave of emotion swept through the Cathedral of the Madeleine as the name of the new pope was announced. Pope Leo XIV, formerly Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost of Chicago. The 115 voting cardinals reached their decision this morning on the second day of the conclave after 5 ballots. Here in Salt Lake City, parishioners clapped and hugged, many overcome with emotion. Bishop Oscar was overjoyed to know that the first pope from America was selected and echoed sentiments of helping those who are needy and in marginalized communities will be a continuing focus. Bishop Oscar also says bells will continue to ring throughout the afternoon and a special mass will be held to welcome the new pontiff. Live in Salt Lake City, Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
Catholic Community Services reacted to Pope Leo's election with a social media post celebrating the news. It went on to say Catholic Community Services will pray for the new pope to have wisdom and compassion and to be motivated by charity. We will continue to have coverage on this throughout the day, including at 12:45 when we will talk to a religion professor from the University of Utah. You can follow us on social media or online at kslnewsradio.com for the latest. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Trump administration has announced its first trade deal since imposing a new round of worldwide tariffs. President Trump says the United Kingdom has approved an agreement with the U.S. that would lower the tariff rate on British and auto exports and eliminate it for steel and aluminum. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick went on to explain the baseline tariff rate still exists.
We still have a 10% tariff on, which will produce $6 billion of revenue for the United States. So the idea was, how do they keep their jobs, protect their economy, and do the best for their people while opening the market for us.
The final details are still unknown. The U.S. has had a trade surplus with the U.K. in recent years. Utah's exports continue to increase, sending out $18 million worth of goods last year. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
The state sent goods to just over 200 countries, with the UK being the #1 trade partner. The Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute's Utah International Trade Report says unwrought gold and primary metals are the state's #1 export, next to computers and electronics. But senior research fellow and lead author of the report, John Downen, says the tariffs have already started to affect the 2025 export outlook.
Uncertainty has led firms to cut back on investment or hold off on hiring, start maybe looking for other sources of the inputs that they need to make their product.
Downen says with the current economic climate, there's really no telling what the report will look like next year. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
U.S. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts is rebuffing President Trump's attacks on the judiciary again. In an appearance in New York, Roberts says the impeachment is not how you register disagreement with decisions. ABC's Rachel Scott has more.
We don't often see the Chief Justice speak out publicly, and certainly not on political matters. But in his hometown of Buffalo, Chief Justice John Roberts weighing in on the court and the president's attacks on the judicial system.
Roberts also defended the court's overturning of decisions like Roe v. Wade. A measure that would allow off-roading to return to part of the Glen Canyon Dam recreation area is on its way to the president's desk. Congresswoman Celeste Malloy introduced the bill, which the House passed last week. Today, it got approval from the Senate. It restores access to about 24 miles worth of terrain in an area called Orange Cliffs. The Biden administration had restricted access to that area. Governor Spencer Cox is worried sports betting will increase homelessness across the country. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis explains.
Governor Cox called sports betting, quote, fentanyl in phone form, end quote. The Deseret News reports that while speaking about homelessness, Cox said states need to take a harder look at the causes and says he believes betting is one of those. Sports betting has been legalized for 7 years nationally, but remains illegal in Utah. The industry generates billions of dollars annually, but can cause measurable harm to mental health and family relationships. Cox says he would like to see national leaders promoting more charity and religious activity, saying sports betting and substance abuse are problems of a larger issue. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Time for First Look Traffic. What's happening on the roads, Ricky?
We begin our noontime drive with a crash causing delays southbound I-15 near 7200 South. It's backing traffic into Murray. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:05.
The most important part of all our news stories at KSL are the people involved. Introducing an expanded noon news show. Listen to Midday with Maria Chaleos. Listen in your car between noon and 3 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. Love this time of year. The seasons are changing. We're all getting out into the great outdoors, whether it's taking the kids to their game on Saturday morning or getting away with friends and doing a little hiking up in the mountains. I want you to remember that at the end of that very busy day, it's time to go to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and have the very best meal. It's waiting for you right now at 2 wonderful locations. I mentioned mountain activities. Well, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is right there in Hotel Park City. There's so many wonderful things that are happening in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City. Well, there's a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse right here for you at 275 Southwest Temple. The service you get there is beyond compare, and the food is something to simply rave about. That entree is cooked exactly to perfection, just the way you like it. It's time. Make your reservations to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, Hotel Park City, downtown Salt Lake City.
Water belongs in pipes, not in your yard or on your floor. Call Utah Utility Pro. Water, sewer, main, and gas lines. UtahUtilityPro.com.
Thank you for joining us for Utah's Noon News, recapping our top story. Local Catholics are excited about the news that the new pope with the given name Leo XIV is the first American pope. They say they rejoice in this surprise blessing. KSL News Time, 12:07. The man who police say backed a pickup truck over a toddler earlier this week in Salt Lake City and then drove off has now been officially charged. Carlos Garcia faces charges of failing to stop at a serious injury accident and negligently operating a vehicle resulting in injury. Court documents also gave an update on the condition of the child, saying that he will be in a body cast for at least 6 weeks. The arrival of warmer temperatures has everyone getting excited for the summer break, but KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff reports that's making it harder for crossing guards.
A Davis County crossing guard says the problem is that excitement has school kids and drivers getting a little careless.
They are so excited to go home and play, ride their bikes, be with their friend, do whatever it is outside in this warm weather, that they just are not thinking straight.
Tracy Peterson helps kids and parents get across Parish Lane in Centerville safely, but she says just a couple days ago a driver went whizzing past her while she was standing in the crosswalk with her sign raised. She says with the end of the school year coming, sometimes the kids forget to be careful, so drivers need to be extra vigilant. Reporting from Centerville, Don Brinkerhoff, KSL News Radio.
A Cache Valley couple, along with the county, have worked together to preserve around 800 acres of land in Sardine Canyon. Cache County has purchased 471 acres of land from developers planning to use it for public recreation space. Cache County Executive Director David Zook says that this is thanks to working with the public, the developers, and the state.
The majority of the people in Cache Valley felt like that was not the best place for a housing development. It's such a beautiful open space now, and we wanted to keep it that way.
One couple felt strongly enough about the area that they privately purchased 300 acres that they will keep open for migrating wildlife. Local Farmington commuters will need to add a few minutes to their drive because of a major overpass that's closing down. KSL News Radio's Alessandra Gurr reports.
The Shepherd Lane overpass permanently shut down yesterday to make way for a new interchange.
The new interchange, it is going to cross over the rail tracks, and that's going to allow us to get pedestrians, bicyclists. It's going to improve that connectivity along Park Lane and all of the ramps that are associated with I-15, US 89, and Legacy Parkway.
UDOT spokesperson John Gleason says the new freeway overpass will be done by the end of this year, with the interchange anticipated to open by the end of 2026. Alessandra Gurr, KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Ricky?
We do have this crash in Midvale, southbound I-15 near 7200 South UHP, and incident management now pulling away, and the delays it was causing, even though it was out of traffic on the left shoulder, back to about 53rd South, that backup should ease any moment now. And for those who are traveling northbound on I-15 going through Roy and Riverdale, you're going to see delays. I don't have a problem reported. It seems to be maybe road work causing these backups, so allow yourself an extra 10 to 15 minutes to get through that stretch. Try UTA and get more done while you ride. Games, work, books, shows, you'll be too busy to notice all the traffic that you're missing. Plan your trip at rideuta.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Okay, we're looking at another climb on the roller coaster ride. About 79 today, mostly sunny skies. 83 by tomorrow, blue skies and a couple of clouds. We are hot on Saturday, 88 degrees, our first time flirting with 90 this spring season. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Oh boy, flirting with 90. Sunny right now in downtown Salt Lake City and a very pleasant 72 degrees. Coming up on midday with Maria Chaleos, a lot of excitement surrounding the announcement that the new Pope will be the world's first American Pope. We'll hear more from one of our local bishops about his thoughts about the selection. That's coming up, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. What is the number one reason people buy a hot tub and then don't use it? The maintenance. Arctic Spas is relentless in making maintenance easy with our automatic saltwater system. We call it Spa Boy because it's like having someone else take care of your spa for you all the time. It uses salt water, which is the more natural way of treating water, making the water more comfortable. You get no smell, no red eyes, or dry skin, just pure enjoyment. It's automatic because it has a sensor that reads the water and then automatically adjusts the sanitizer and the pH. You don't have to test and adjust the water yourself. You can even monitor everything from your Arctic Spa app on your phone. Now, get all the relaxing advantages of a hot tub without the not-so-relaxing maintenance. So for the most comfortable and convenient spa out there, check out Arctic Spas with stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George, or online at arcticspasutah.com. Arctic Spas, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
Think you've seen it all? The 2025 venue is prepped. The athletes have trained. Food's on standby. The weekend and weather are clear for the event to be epic. It's the 2025 Soldier Hollow Classic Memorial Weekend, May 23rd through 26th. The greatest value for families and fun. Experience some of the best entertainment and athleticism as they test the boundary between canine and human bonds. Plus, the festival. Amazing food and merchandise, bagpipes, demonstrations, activities, and great sponsors. Presented by Purina Pro Plan. A weekend filled with value and family fun. Nestled in a redesigned Olympic venue. Soldier Hollow. 4 days of adventure, competition, animal and bird demos, plus much more. Something for everyone. The Soldier Hollow Classic Sheepdog Championship and Festival. Presented by Purina Pro Plan. Nutrition that performs. Powder River. Exclusive livestock and canine equipment sponsor. IFA Country Store. Helping to grow the things you love. Visit SoldierHollowClassic.com. SoldierHollowClassic.com.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
KSL News Time, 12:15. The three things you need to know this hour. First,
Utah exported more than $18 billion worth of goods last year. It comes as economic uncertainty continues and the outlook for next year becomes harder to predict. I'm KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla.
Second, a lot of excitement from the Diocese of the Salt Lake City about the new Pope. More on that coming up. Third, traffic and weather together, Ricky.
Some slowdowns waiting for you on northbound I-15 in Weber County, going through Roy and Riverdale, and southbound I-15. An earlier crash in Midvale backed up traffic to Murray. That crash is cleared. We're just waiting for the slowing to clear out as well. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
High pressure starting to move in. We'll bump temperatures up to 79 today, but 80s tomorrow. I'm Matt Johnson.
Mostly cloudy, 72 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Time now for KSL's top national stories.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Pope Leo XIV addressing crowds in St. Peter's Square and around the world after cardinals voted him in as the next leader of the Catholic Church. Taking in the moment, Pope Leo thanking the masses in St. Peter's Square and Pope Francis.
Grazie a Papa Francesco.
The former cardinal, Robert Prevost, from Chicago and a Villanova grad, was not considered a top contender, now making history as the first American to serve as Pope. ABC News contributor Father James Martin.
He's a wonderful person. I got to know him at the Synod. He's very down to earth. He's kind. He's very humble and very soft-spoken. One of the interesting things is that he was prior general of the Augustinian order. People would know that mainly in the United States from Villanova. Being prior general means that you are someone whom the entire order looks up to.
ABC's David Muir has more on the papal name.
Leo is the name of one of the consensus best popes in church history. Leo, better known as Leo the Great. And the most recent pope of that name served in the early 1900s. And he was best remembered in 1891 for laying out the foundation of modern Catholic social teaching.
The new Pope Leo is 69 years old. Fighting breaking out today in Ukraine, even though Russia unilaterally called for a 3-day ceasefire coinciding with Russia's celebrations marking the end of World War II. A military parade set in Russia for tomorrow. ABC's Ian Pannell has more.
It appears that some of the bombing, the nightly bombing over residential cities has stopped. Largely at the moment, but on the front lines, the guns have certainly not fallen silent. Artillery, drones are continuing to fire. Russia accusing Ukraine of violating the ceasefire. Ukraine's foreign minister calling the whole idea farcical.
You're listening to ABC News.
Time for the KSL In-Depth. The Diocese of Salt Lake City is reacting to the election of the first American Pope in history. The Catholic Bishop of Utah, Most Reverend Oscar Solis, pledged his obedience to the new Pope Leo XIV.
A man of deep prayer and fidelity to the doctrine and discipline of the Church, who have a tremendous experience of missionary work all over the world, from Latin America, and from the very whole of our Catholic faith, which is the Vatican City. I'm so excited and I'm so emotional to share this wonderful news. The Diocese of Salt Lake City rejoices together with the Universal Church on the election of Pope Leo XIV. For us as Catholics, this is another surprise blessing from God, an awesome spiritual moment of deep gratitude and great joy, not only for us, but for the whole world. This marks a great milestone, the first American Pope, a chosen servant of servants of the people of God, not only among the Catholic Church, but across the globe. The manifestation of the unity among the cardinals to elect the new successor of Pope is quite surprising. I thank them for the great service of our church.
Most Reverend Solis asked Utah Catholics to join him in praying for the new Pope. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Ricky?
We are seeing speeds improve once again on southbound I-15 going from Murray through Midvale, where we had the earlier accident near 7200 South. The rest of your Salt Lake County freeways and I-15 in Utah County all clear and looking good. But for drivers on northbound I-15, we've had slowdowns going from Roy through Riverdale, likely due to road work. We've not had any kind of traffic issue reported there, like a crash, but just be prepared for some slowing there. And then once you're past, a little bit past Riverdale Road and into Ogden, you are right back to the posted limit. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialist. Whipple that away. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast, 79 today, mostly sunny skies. A beautiful 83 tomorrow with high pressure right overhead. Saturday, 88, could be flirting with 90, mostly sunny skies. We'll go partly cloudy on Mother's Day, breezy out of the south, 87. We cool it to 79, partly cloudy, but still windy on Monday. Tuesday, cold front, 67, showers and breezy, mostly cloudy, 62 by Wednesday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Few clouds in downtown Salt Lake City, but very pleasant, 72 degrees. The 7-day forecast is brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. Quick check of the markets. Wow, a great day for the markets. The Dow is up more than 500 points. A complete update of your money news is coming up next.
Troy, can you believe Memorial Day is almost here?
Pretty exciting.
Pretty exciting?
Yeah.
That's all you got for the official start to camping season and our entire reason for living?
I am excited, yes. What do you want from me?
Get pumped, man. It's camping Christmas. Kind of a big deal.
Oh, it's a huge flippin' deal. That's why Bish's is already celebrating Memorial Day with big deals on all RVs. We're selling travel trailers starting under $139 per month on approved credit.
And don't forget no tariff fees on new in-stock RVs.
Plus 90 days of all play and no pay OAC.
And clearance pricing on all remaining 2024s while they last.
We're even delivering select RVs same day so you can camp right away.
Same day camping? That is a big flippin' deal.
Told you, camping season is a big deal. So come get the real big deals during the Memorial Day sales event happening right now at Bish's RV of Salt Lake and American Fork, where memories begin.
Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock numbers 90452-81733. Subject to prior sale. See dealer for details.
In the next few years, Utah will be stepping into the future of clean energy. With growing power demands and a need for sustainable solutions, nuclear energy is making its way to our state. Clean and reliable, nuclear power can keep the lights on without polluting the air we breathe. Small modular reactors, or SMRs, are a new kind of nuclear. Safe, compact, and built in the U.S., they automatically shut down in emergencies and use only a fraction of the water. New small modular reactors are compact, advanced nuclear plants designed to be incredibly safe. They produce zero emissions and can run 24/7, rain or shine. Unlike other power sources, nuclear energy provides constant, clean power and will help Utah meet demand. It also means local jobs, energy independence, and a cleaner environment for future generations. To learn the facts about nuclear energy coming to Utah, visit the Utah Office of Energy's website at energy.utah.gov. That's energy.utah.gov.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
KSL News Time, 1223. Bill Gates announced plans to give away almost all of his estimated $107 billion fortune in what could amount to one of the largest philanthropic gifts in history. ABC's Brian Clark has more.
Bill Gates says it feels right to mark Microsoft's 50th anniversary by committing to give away the resources he earned through the company. Gates announced he'll give away 99% of his wealth, culminating in the Gates Foundation closing in 2045. He said the foundation will be guided by 3 aspirations. No mother or baby dies of a preventable disease, the next generation grows up in a world without deadly infectious diseases, and that hundreds of millions of people break free from poverty. Brian Clark, ABC News.
Watching Utah's money, long-haul carrier Emirates has reported it earned annual profits of $5.2 billion. That makes it one of the world's most profitable airlines. The Dubai-based carrier has served 53.7 million passengers out of its hub of Dubai International Airport. United Airlines is offering waivers to some customers affected by the major delays and cancellations at the Newark Liberty National Airport. Thousands of people had disrupted travel plans as the airline struggled with an air traffic control issue. Carvana did better than expected this quarter. Experts say it could be because of the Trump administration's tariffs on automobiles and parts. Sales increased 46% year over year. And taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow up by 487 points. That's more than a full percent, sitting at 41,601. S&P 500 up by 67 points, and the NASDAQ up by 302 points. A new study from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention finds that Americans' life expectancy rose in 2023 to the highest level since the COVID-19 pandemic. But it was not an across-the-board increase.
In some southern states, according to the CDC, life expectancy changed very little after the pandemic. The authors blame differences in public health policies among individual states for regional discrepancies. In California, an early adopter of anti-smoking policies, people are living longer than in Kentucky, a state that was slower to discourage tobacco use.
That is ABC's Jim Ryan reporting.
Have a minute?
I love Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News. It's more of a personal take on the news from Jeff.
Get caught up on the latest news and hear Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News for thought-provoking, playful commentary.
It's usually funny.
Like he's said before, it varies from day to day, and it's always entertaining.
My Minute of News, it puts a smile on my face.
If you have a minute, you need to catch Jeff's Minute. My Minute of News, weekdays from 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Many people worry they're not making the right investment choices inside their 401ks. Did you know that you might have a little-known opportunity to add some additional investment choices to your 401k and get the help and recommendations you've been looking for? This exciting feature is called a self-directed brokerage window. And the best part? The money still stays within your 401k. Learn how the trusted advisors at Capital Wealth may be able to expand your investment portfolio. To learn more, call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Improving your 401k might mean the difference of retiring a few years earlier. Let's find out. Schedule your no-cost 15-minute consultation with the Capital Wealth team today. Call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor.
Celebrate the mothers in your life with flowers by Olson's Greenhouse. Get gift ideas for mom and inspiration from the KSL Greenhouse and Olson's at the Copper Hills Home Depot. That is this Saturday from 8 to 11, so join Ton and me. We will be there for that, and you can ask us all your questions.
Hi, it's Tori DeVito. In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. I grew up on tour with my parents. Kind of different, but we bonded over music just like other families do over sports, camping, or other interests. And we talked. Little everyday conversations from silly to serious that built a foundation over time. Honest conversations, like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic.
Your honesty about that part of your life gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted to uphold in my own life. And I was so grateful that you and Mom had become these sober, stable people who were always there for me.
I wanted you to know from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs, whether it's music or anything else. I said it a lot, and I'm glad you took it to heart.
Talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. With honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be shared with friends or family. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a new accident. This is in Davis County. A crash on southbound I-15 prior to 2600 South Woods Cross. You've got vehicles over to the right shoulder rather. They are out of traffic, so we're not seeing it affect traffic on the main flow of I-15. But if you are northbound I-15 in Weber County, it is bogged down and slow going through Roy and Riverdale. Break your routine and break into adventure in Cedar City, Bryan Head. Connected to nature, Cedar City makes spring the best break ever. Shopping, dining, and recreation galore. Break up your adventure. Visit cedarcity.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
All right, high pressure on the move, headed for Utah. Mostly sunny skies today with temperatures warming up to 79. 54 in the overnight, mostly clear. 83 tomorrow, mostly clear skies. Minimal clouds and lots of blue skies on Saturday, hot. 88 degrees. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
It's sunny and 72 degrees downtown.
You're listening to Midday with Maria Chaleos
on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time, 1230. KSL's top story this hour. White smoke has come out of the chimney on top of the Sistine Chapel of the Vatican, indicating we have a pope.
Habemus Papam.
The 133 eligible cardinals voted to elect an American pope, Pope Leo XIV, known as Robert Francis Prevost. ABC News contributor Father James Martin shared some personal insight into his character.
He's a wonderful person. I got to know him at the Synod. He's very down to earth. He's kind. He's very humble and very soft-spoken. One of the interesting things is that he was prior general of the Augustinian order. People would know that mainly in the United States from Villanova. Being prior general means that you are someone whom the entire order looks up to.
But what do we know about his background? KSL News Radio's Becky Bruce takes a look. Becky?
Maria, Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost is the first ever North American pope, born in Chicago during the baby boom to an Italian mother and a French father. He grew up attending St. Mary of the Assumption Church right there in Chicago, has a bachelor's degree in math, and then joined the Order of St. Augustine before getting his Master's of Divinity from the Catholic Theological Union also in Chicago. That eventually led him to the priesthood and some lengthy service in Peru, where eventually he became a bishop. Most recently, he led the Catholic Church's office that oversees all bishops. Becky Bruce, KSL News Radio.
The Catholic Bishop of Utah, Most Reverend Oscar A. Solis, asked Catholics to pray for the new Pope.
As he leads faithfully and guides humbly the Church into this new age of technological acceleration with the mind of Christ, to bravely cast out into the deep, to bring the hope and mercy of God to the poor, the marginalized, and in need with the heart of Christ.
The Most Reverend Solis said Pope Leo is a man of prayer and doctrine with extensive missionary experience. State housing advocates are launching a new coalition aimed at helping people in the rental market. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has more.
Today, the Utah Housing Coalition is launching the Landlord and Community Partners Coalition with the goal of helping both tenants and landlords.
These are the cards that we're dealt with in Utah. Let's roll with it and let's, try to come up with housing solutions together.
Coalition Project Manager Zoe Newman tells me they want to prevent evictions mainly by increasing the state's low-income housing supply after they found a large failure rate in Section 8 voucher placements around the state.
So that basically translates to, landlords and small landlords either not wanting to collaborate with people with housing vouchers.
Newman says it's also important to do this now given the current cost of living and the political climate. The coalition's first meeting is at the end of the month. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
It's a first for Utah. Salt Lake County is being recognized as age-friendly. KSL News Radio's Heather Kelly has details.
The Mill Creek Community Center not only has a recreation center, but also a library and cafe. This brings in people of all ages inside, and they interact with each other. KSL.com reports those are just some of the reasons AARP is calling out Salt Lake County as age-friendly. Mayor Jenny Wilson says most aging centers are separated from other social places, but a combined model is great.
AARP officials say they look for health care choices and accessible transportation, among other things, to recognize communities. Other national stories we are following this hour. FEMA officials are pleading with the Trump administration to preserve their funding. Acting Administrator Cameron Hamilton says their services are sorely needed.
I do not believe it is in the best interest of the American people to eliminate the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Okay. We have to make it better, efficient, more solvent, and ensure that we get survivors the assistance they need in a timely manner.
President Trump's proposed budget would cut the department's budget by $644 million. But Mr. Trump has talked about eliminating it completely, putting the burden of disaster relief on the states. The Trump administration is proposing a major overhaul of the air traffic control system after a series of plane crashes in recent months. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the new plan calls for 6 new air traffic control centers, along with technology and communication upgrades at all of the nation's air traffic facilities over the next 3 years. A heads up, if you take the front runner for your daily commute, you're going to have a lot of company over the next few weeks. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
We're getting close to the end of school, and that means school kids from around the Wasatch Front, they get to visit Lagoon on field trips. And a lot of them will be riding the front runner.
Starting this Friday on May 9th, and then Thursday, May 15th, Tuesday, May 20th, Wednesday, May 21st, and Thursday, May 22nd.
UTA spokesperson Gavin Gustafson says they add extra train cars for these days, but even then, be prepared because there might be standing room only. And he asked the kids and the regulars, be respectful of each other, maybe not put your feet up or lie down and take up extra space. Randall Jepson, KSL News Radio.
Time now for First Look Traffic. Ricky, still a problem out there?
We have an accident on southbound I-15 in Woods Cross and slowdowns northbound I-15 in Roy and Riverdale. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:35.
We have your news and weather all morning and all afternoon. And now, 3 hours of news about the people of Utah. Join us for Midday with Maria Chaleos, expanded to noon to 3 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, it's Cindy Olsen here, and whether it's for mom, sister, daughter, or the new graduate, the perfect gift for her is at the Dave's Bernina Spring Sale in St. George and Provo. Discounts on all Bernina machines with a limited time offer of 48 months, no interest on certain models. Amazing savings on the Bernina 570 and 770 Quilter Edition machines with an incredible low price to add embroidery. Great deals on suitcase systems and big books to help with quilting, serging, and embroidery. Get this. Buy the Bernina 590 or 790 Pro and get free gift bundles worth over $3,600. Bernina quilting machines are simply the best and save thousands of dollars in May while they last. Come in now for bargains on trade-ins, classroom, and demo machines that come with warranties. Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo. Dave's Bernina. Dave'sBernina.com.
You know how they always used to ask you in grade school, what do you want to be when you grow up? I bet I'm the only kid who ever stood proud and said, I want to be a rain gutter or siding installer. Jim Jr. here with RGS Exteriors, and man, I can still remember all those wannabe astronauts and quarterbacks looking at me like I was an idiot. Who would want to install rain gutters or siding? Somebody who is a fourth generation in business. That's who. My great-grandfather, T.R. Brown, started the company in the 50s. Then my grandfather took over from him, then my dad, Tim Sr., and now I've been at the helm since 2005. Every day I wake up and think, man, I'm living the dream. And now my own kids are starting to work in the business too. 5 generations. If you want gutters, siding, windows, or any exteriors on your home, and a company that really cares deep down to our souls, give RGS a call. 801-280-3110 or find us online, rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com. 801-280-3110, rgsutah.com.
Teens can get up to $200 with a Teen Learn and Earn account. Plus, continue earning rewards as they master the essentials of finance. More at cypresscu.com/teen.
KSL News Time 1238. We do have some breaking news for you. Lehigh High School is on lockdown right now. Lehigh police say it is out of precaution. They're trying to figure out if an individual had a gun in a vehicle. Now, they have not been able to confirm that yet, though. We will keep you updated as we get more information on the story. A Bluffdale couple's marriage plans took a heartbreaking turn just weeks before their ceremony when the groom-to-be was diagnosed with cancer. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera has their story.
What began as wedding excitement is now a fight for 21-year-old Josh Murky's life. He was having chest pain and trouble breathing. Doctors found a mass between his heart and a collapsed lung and diagnosed him with 2 rare types of leukemia. His sister Brooklyn is bringing love and support straight to his hospital room.
One of my sisters got a tattoo in honor of him. I made a poster with affirmations about him that everybody that comes into the room can sign, just in support to show him that everybody's rooting for him.
The family has set up a GoFundMe to help with Josh's fight. You can find it on our website. Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
The Tooele Army Depot will be blowing up old munitions again today in their south range. Now, the detonations should start at some point after 11, so you could be hearing them right now. Now, some of the sound waves do reach the Wasatch Front at times, and people can hear and feel those booms. Nothing to be alarmed about. A study by University of Utah hydrologists could give water managers a new way to predict how much water is available years in advance. KSL News Radio's Michelle Rowe has the story.
It's been a common assumption the water coming down our streams in the spring is from that winter's snowfall. But scientists at the University of Utah have discovered that's not really the case.
An average snowmelt water molecule takes over 5 years to actually exit a stream. So that means that there's much larger water storage in the ground than we've thought of before.
Professor of Geology and Geophysics at the University of Utah, Paul Brooks, says this information is already entering the beta phase of implementation by water managers. Michelle Rowe, KSL News Radio.
UDOT is moving forward with their biggest lane striping project in state history. The main focus is on improving road visibility across Salt Lake, Utah, Davis, Tooele, and Summit counties. Drivers should plan for nightly closures. This week, westbound State Road 21 will be impacted from West Valley to Magna. Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Ricky, tell us about those trouble spots.
An accident on the southbound side of I-15 in Davis County prior to 2600 South Woods Cross. Everybody out of traffic on the shoulder. It's not impacting your drive, but if you're expecting delays trying to go north, you'll get them. This is northbound I-15, slow going through Roy and Riverdale in Weber County. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialists. Whipple that away. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Yesterday was 72, will rise to 79 today. It's a warming trend. Mostly sunny skies this afternoon. We'll drop off to 54 in the overnight, couple of clouds. 83 tomorrow, mostly sunny. We'll then go to 88 degrees on Saturday afternoon with lots of blue sky. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
A lot of sunshine, 75 degrees downtown. Coming up on midday, the new Pope is American. So what do we know about Pope Leo XIV, and what does this mean for the future of the church? We'll talk to a professor from the University of Utah about it. That's coming up, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Summer is right around the corner.
It's time to spring into summer with Soda Weight Loss. Today is a new day.
And a big day for you.
Why?
Why?
Because right now, you'll get our biggest discount of the year.
Do you know how good it feels to let go of 51 pounds of belly fat? And I did it without drugs, shots, or hunger. Because Soda Weight Loss works. Just look at all the Google reviews and all the thousands of before and after pictures.
Soda Weight Loss has one goal, and that's to help you let go of the weight for good.
So I lost 25 pounds. I was never hungry. It was very, very easy. I couldn't believe how fast the weight came off.
Now is the time to join America's #1 weight loss company for client satisfaction and results.
Hurry. Savings won't last long.
Let's go.
Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Did you hear? A recent stash of $10 gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s. And less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-917-4635 and you are guaranteed a $10 gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-917-4635. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-917-4635 now to secure your $10 gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-917-4635.
It's springtime in the Rockies, and it's time to apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment. A Revive treatment with fertilization, aeration, and good watering is the key to building stronger roots for a healthy, lush green lawn. Revive fertilizes and moves water and nutrients deeper into the soil. Take advantage of spring storms with an application of Revive now. Protect yourself from drought later this summer and skyrocketing water costs. With Revive, if you water 2 times a week, it's like watering 4. Apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment today. It works.
KSL News Time 1245. The 3 things you need to know this hour. First,
today the Utah Housing Coalition is launching a new separate coalition aimed at helping people that are renting and their landlords. I'm KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
Second, we are hearing the Lehigh High School is on lockdown right now out of precaution. Police had reports of a possible gun in a vehicle. We will continue to follow this for you and keep you updated. Third, traffic and weather together, Ricky.
New trouble in traffic. Not sure if it's an accident, but we now have 3 to 4 vehicles moved out of traffic now on northbound I-15 just after 1300 South and before the 6 South exit. They're on the right shoulder now, but not before causing some backups almost to the I-80 201 junction. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Here comes another springtime warm-up. 70s today, turn to 80s tomorrow, close to 90 Saturday. I'm Matt Johnson.
Bit of sunshine, 75 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Time now for KSL's top national stories.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Michelle Franzen. Celebrations stretching around the world for the new Pope elected on the second day of the conclave. Cardinals choosing former Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, who chooses to go by the name Pope Leo XIV. He's the first American to become Pope. ABC News contributor Father James Martin says he was unexpected, but an excellent choice.
He's a very soft-spoken, but I would say firm person. He was confident in his decisions and easy to talk to, and it's quite a surprise.
The 69-year-old Pope, originally from Chicago, ABC's Liz Nagy has more.
Pope Leo has spent much of his career outside of the United States, but has frequently returned home to Chicago. Most recently, he was there in 1998 through 2014, when he was then sent to Peru. So this will be a very unifying thing for Catholics in Chicago, something they'll very much look forward to seeing how his papacy goes.
This is ABC News.
Time now for the KSL In-Depth. The new Pope has been elected, as you just heard on ABC News. Pope Leo XIV is the world's first American Pope. And joining me now live to talk about it is Brandon Peterson. He's a Catholic theologian who teaches religious studies at the University of Utah. So, Brandon, thanks for being with me. What is your reaction to this news?
I think like a lot of people, I was surprised. The conventional wisdom has been that you wouldn't expect to see an American Pope. But I'm surprised the bit that I know about him. I'm really impressed. I think he's has all the makings for a great leader.
So how significant is it that we're seeing an American Pope for the first time? I mean, what should this be telling us?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's a surprise to a lot of people because America has been, the United States has been a superpower, and a lot of people had the sense that you needed somebody to be able to speak truth to power, especially back in the Cold War days, when you had two major superpowers. But yeah, the world is different now. And I think it speaks to his own background as well. Well, he was born in Chicago, and he's from the United States. I mean, he spent more than half of his life in other parts of the world, in Peru, in Europe. Noticeably, when he gave his address after being announced as Pope, he didn't he jumped between languages, but he didn't include English there. He spoke in Italian, he spoke in Spanish, but he's been a bridge builder wherever he's gone. He's connected people. He's kind of a moderating voice. So I think people saw past that idea of, pigeonholing American stereotypes and see him as breaking the mold.
Should we expect him to be progressive like Pope Francis?
Well, during the address, he picked up on a few different themes that Francis has made during his papacy. So this church is for everybody. He said tutti in Italian, meaning everyone, which was a big thing that Francis emphasized. He talked about being charitable to those who are suffering, and he mentioned having a synodal church. So Francis put in a big emphasis on synodality, the idea of listening to everyone in the church, including lay people. And so I think he's signaling a continuity there in a lot of what Francis was taking up.
Let's talk about the name for a minute. The name Leo has a long history in the Catholic Church. Tell us more about the significance of that name.
Yeah, the first Leo was back in the 400s, and he wrote a really influential letter called the Tome of Leo that had a big influence on how councils thought about Jesus, the question of Christology. But more recently, the most recent Leo was Leo XIII, who died in 1903. But the big thing that he's known for is this teaching document called Rerum Novarum, or on New Revolutions, basically, where he was talking about the social status. The document condemned both communism as well as sort of unfettered capitalism, and really set the tone for a lot of what the Catholic Church has taught in terms of social justice. So by picking the name Leo XIV, I think he's also signaling a concern for those issues on social teachings in the Catholic Church.
Brandon, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for being with me.
Thanks for having me.
Live on the KSL Newsline, that is Brandon Peterson. He's a Catholic theologian who teaches religious studies at the University of Utah. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Let's check in with Ricky Meese.
It looks like the trouble that we had in traffic on northbound I-15 prior to the 6 South exit downtown is actually a crash. And now that it's really out of the way on the shoulder to the right, the backups it was causing almost to 2100 South, that's got traffic starting to move again now that all lanes are open, and those delays should clear out here any moment. If you continue northbound I-15, though, we still have slow speeds in Weber County going through Roy and Riverdale. On the southbound side in Davis County, cleanup continues with an accident out of traffic on the shoulder prior to 2600 South Woods Cross. And then for Tooele County drivers, road work again today causing some heavy and slow traffic southbound on Main Street going from Mills Junction to Erda. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast. Still looking at a pretty nice warm up here. 79 today, mostly sunny skies, rather pleasant. A little on the warm side tomorrow. We'll jump to 83. High pressure over Utah, mostly sunny.